Chapter 558. Go! The heavenly thunder divine pearl in Yi Tianyun's hand was almost full. When a thick bolt of lightning was about to strike, he quickly waved the heavenly thunder divine pearl in his hand, and a thick bolt of divine lightning immediately met it. Its power was even more terrifying than the bolt of lightning. Boom! When the two collided, the bolt of lightning was instantly devoured. The remaining divine lightning struck the surrounding black clouds, and finally disappeared without a trace, without any effect. This bolt of lightning was not the limit. If it really was the limit, holy kings would have gone up long ago, instead of being trapped below. Therefore, no matter what he did, the surrounding scenery would not be damaged at all. At this time, there were a few cultivators on the side, constantly resisting the divine lightning. Seeing that they were so relaxed and riding a phoenix, they were really envious. The number of bolts of lightning that fell here would not decrease because of the speed. It would be as much as it should be. Similarly, the faster one's speed was, the earlier one could get out, and not be constantly struck by the lightning. Riding on the phoenix was much faster, and in the blink of an eye, they flew up. It seemed that it would not take too long for them to easily pass through this passage. "I'm ready to go through." Yi Tianyun looked up ahead. As they flew forward, he saw a ray of light in front of him. Presumably, if they passed through this ray of light, they would successfully reach the mortal world. The process was not as terrifying as imagined, at least for them. With the heavenly thunder divine pearl, their cultivation was not very high, and the speed of the phoenix, they could easily go back. The danger was reduced to the minimum, and they could easily go back. The next moment, they disappeared in this light, as if passing through a layer of waterfall, drenching them. However, they were not wet at all. After passing through easily, they immediately rushed into the sky. At this time, what came into view was a boundless forest. This time, they were not teleported away casually, and they were still riding on the ice phoenix. There was nothing special about the surrounding environment. Below them was also an empty space, and there was no trace of a teleportation array. If they could go back from here, there would definitely be a teleportation array here. However, there was no teleportation array here, so if they wanted to go down, they still had to go through the Netherworld Passage. The Netherworld Passage was much easier than going up. If their cultivation was strong, they could easily pass without any pressure. Because no matter how strong he was, his surroundings wouldn't change. "We're back," Renliangchen said as he took a deep breath. There wasn't much difference between this place and the Netherworld, except that the spiritual energy here was far weaker than in the Netherworld. Although it was a little lacking, they were most familiar with it. Most importantly, with their cultivation, they would definitely be able to occupy a place here. They didn't have to worry about how many people would make an enemy out of them. There were quite a few Void Spirit stage powerhouses here, so there was no need to worry about this. "Well, let's go back now." Yi Tianyun controlled the Ice Phoenix and quickly flew back to his Heavenly Clouds mansion. The Heavenly Clouds continent, formerly known as the Nether Continent, now began to build an imperial capital or a large number of cities. Many rebels, bandits, and the like were completely wiped out. They just want to make the whole continent a safe place without any disputes and create a harmonious heavenly cloud continent. They wanted to finish everything before Yi Tianyun returned. Because of this, Yi Tianyun gained a lot of EXP from eradicating the forces here. They thought that Yi Tianyun didn't know about it, but they didn't expect that Yi Tianyun knew about it and gained a lot of benefits from it. The accumulated EXP alone was enough for him to level up. Today, the imperial capital was still being built in an orderly manner by the spirit race. They wanted to build the safest imperial capital in the world. Even if a Spirit King stage cultivator attacked them, they would be able to withstand their attack. This was what they needed. "Old ancestor, don't you want to take a break?" The spirit race's old ancestor looked at him worriedly. The spirit race's old ancestor began to carve the divine runes on the wall. It was definitely several times sturdier than the Netherworld prison. Xiao Chun had poured in all his energy to forge it. What's there to rest? I can still hold on. The spirit race's old ancestor said with a smile. Don't think that I'm old, I'm stronger than you young people. The spirit race's old ancestor looked at him helplessly, but since the spirit race's old ancestor insisted, they could only let him do it. However, the other spirit race's old ancestor also continued to carve the divine runes, including Yi Qingxian and the others. As long as they were not lower than a 5th grade divine rune master, they would help to carve the divine rune grade array. Carving the divine runes on the newly built city wall or on the ground was quite a big deal. Because Yi Tianyun had left a lot of resources for them, they could be so willful. Just when they thought they could carry on smoothly, someone suddenly sounded the alarm. The entire imperial capital was ringing, and even places more than 10 miles away could hear the alarm. Everyone looked up, and the spirit race's old ancestor flew directly to the city wall. Yi Qingxian and the others also stopped what they were doing and quickly went to the city wall to see what was going on. They didn't dare to say that they were the strongest force, but at least many empires didn't dare to attack them at will. Not only were they not weak, but they were also allied with the Heavenly Dragon Empire. Therefore, they were very safe in the Heavenly Clouds continent, and no one dared to attack them. Now that someone suddenly came to kill them, they wanted to see who it was. Treasure ship. When the spirit race's old ancestor came up, he saw a huge treasure ship. There were many experts on it, and the aura they exuded was very terrifying. Especially the experts standing in the front row, they released a power that made the spirit race's old ancestor tremble. This treasure ship was expensive, and it was a low-grade saint artifact. Most empires couldn't afford a treasure ship with a low-grade saint artifact. In terms of price, this treasure ship was at least equivalent to a medium-grade saint artifact, not a low-grade saint artifact. I don't know who you are, but please stop. The spirit race's old ancestor shouted loudly, signaling them to stop. Suddenly, a treasured ship came over, and there were so many powerhouses on it. How could they casually let them come over? Ha ha ha, don't be so long-winded. I advise you to surrender, or you will die. The middle-aged man sneered and said straightforwardly, Your imperial city is not bad. It will be the imperial city of our heavenly netherworld divine nation in the future, and we will start conquering this mortal world from here. As soon as he said that, the aura of a spirit king stage cultivator quickly pressed down on Yi Tianyun's body. Many people with lower cultivation were directly pressed to the ground, unable to move. Chapter 559. A Spirit King Stage Cultivator's cultivation was not bad in the ghost world, but in the mortal world, a Spirit King Stage cultivator was like a god above everyone else. The concentration of spiritual power here was too low, coupled with the lack of natural treasures, it was very difficult to break through. Some of the conditions allowed them to break through, but the concentration of spiritual power was too low, so they couldn't break through to a higher level. This was the only way to break through, so many strong cultivators left for the ghost world or the heavenly world. Only when they reached that level, they would know about this. Now that a Spirit King Stage cultivator was attacking them, everyone's face changed dramatically. Some of them even fell to the ground, they couldn't even resist. In addition to the Spirit King Stage expert, there were also a lot of Void Spirit Stage experts. They looked invincible as they charged towards the Spirit King Stage expert. The battle hadn't even started yet, but their morale had already dropped by half. The legendary Spirit King Stage cultivator, the Spirit Race Old Ancestor, took a deep breath. He had obtained a lot of resources and his cultivation had improved a little, but he was still a Void Spirit Stage cultivator. Facing a Spirit King Stage cultivator, he was really powerless. He could feel that his opponent could kill him with a single slap. Not to mention the Spirit King Stage cultivator in front of him, even the Void Spirit Stage cultivator beside him was enough to fight him. Spirit Race Old Ancestor, what should we do? Yi Qingxuan's face was cold. She also felt that she couldn't resist the power of the spirit race old ancestor, but it didn't mean that she would give in. Activate the nation defense array. The spirit race old ancestor said solemnly. Even if we surrender, I'm afraid that they won't let us go. They might be heading straight for us. The Spirit King's departure should be to deal with them. Yi Qingxian nodded. Yi Tianyun had told her that they were going to face the most terrifying attack, so they had to ask for help. Who would have thought that all of this would happen so quickly? They were already right in front of them. Under the command of the spirit race old ancestor, the nation defense array was immediately activated. Layers of thick shields immediately appeared, wrapping the entire imperial capital tightly. Although the overall arrangement of the divine runes was not completed, most of them were engraved. Regardless of whether it was done or not, they could only forcefully activate it. Otherwise, if a fight broke out, they would be the ones who would suffer the most casualties. When they activated the great nation-protecting array, the experts on the treasured ships looked at them with disdain. Lord Su, they actually want to resist? They're overestimating themselves. The Void Spirit Stage powerhouse on the side sneered. This nation-protecting Grand Array was nothing to them. How strong could the Mortal Realm's Grand Array be? Su Guolin looked at the formation and sneered. Since they want to resist, then let them resist. I will let them know that meaningless resistance will only increase the casualties. Immediately, Su Guolin flew out and flew towards the Heavenly Cloud's imperial capital at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, he was already in front of the Heavenly Cloud's imperial capital, waving his palm and slamming it down. Break! Su Guolin let out a long roar, and his palm flashed with a golden light. An ancient aura was released from his palm, and in an instant, thick clouds gathered in the sky. Then, a huge palm broke through the clouds and slammed down on the Heavenly Cloud's imperial capital. The giant palm instantly covered more than half of the Heavenly Cloud's imperial capital, and the terrifying power made everyone's face change. Is this the power of the Spirit King stage? Boom! The giant palm slammed down heavily, setting off a violent explosion. The entire Heavenly Cloud's imperial capital was filled with the sound of explosions. Even the earth trembled because of the explosion. It seemed that this power did not belong to the mortal realm, but it was displayed in the Heavenly Cloud's imperial capital. The cultivators who stayed far away from the Heavenly Cloud's imperial capital trembled and looked at the Heavenly Cloud's imperial capital in horror. I don't know what kind of power the Heavenly Cloud's imperial capital provoked, but it's so powerful. They gasped and felt cold from head to toe. They originally wanted to join the Heavenly Cloud's mansion, but now they didn't even dare to get close to it. After the explosion disappeared, the Heavenly Cloud's imperial capital was still standing. Apart from the explosion, the Heavenly Cloud's imperial capital was still intact. It was a powerful palm of the Spirit King stage, but the Heavenly Cloud's imperial capital was able to withstand it. Oh, interesting. I didn't expect that there would be a divine rune master of such a level in the mortal world. Su Guolin's gaze turned cold. Although he didn't use his full strength, he had at least used more than half of his strength. Who would have thought that he wouldn't be able to destroy the great array of the mortal world? The other cultivators of the heavenly netherworld divine nation were shocked. They didn't expect that the heavenly netherworld divine nation's divine rune master couldn't break the imperial defense great array. Great! We didn't get breached. The spirit race old ancestor is so powerful. He can hold on. Yes, we can defend the heavenly cloud's imperial capital. Their hearts, which had been filled with despair, were suddenly filled with hope. Although the imperial defense great array could withstand it, the spirit race old ancestor who was standing on the city wall was pale. His hands flashed with dazzling light, and he kept making hand seals. In order to withstand the palm, he had consumed most of his spiritual power, and he almost couldn't hold on anymore. As expected of the power of the Spirit King stage, the spirit race old ancestor's face was pale, and he almost fell. Fortunately, Yi Qingxian supported him and said worriedly, "Old ancestor, are you all right? This power is too strong. If our imperial defense great array was engraved properly, we might be able to hold on for a few more times, but now I'm afraid it won't be able to hold on for more than 3 times. Quickly take the people and escape. I will hold them off," the spirit race old ancestor said solemnly. "But, no buts. Hurry up and leave. It's more important to save our lives. We must hold on until the Spirit King comes back." Unfortunately, the Spirit King didn't even see the heavenly cloud's imperial capital, and it was already occupied and destroyed. The spirit race old ancestor shook his head, but he didn't despair. He knew that as long as he preserved his strength and waited for Yi Tianyun's return, there would be a chance. As long as the people were still alive, the heavenly cloud's imperial capital would never be destroyed. Old ancestor. Yi Qingxian gritted her teeth as she knew what to do. Finally, she knelt down in front of the spirit race old ancestor and kowtowed. "Old ancestor, take care!" After kowtowing, she immediately rushed down and was ready to leave with the people. At this point, it was the only thing she could do, otherwise, no one would be able to leave. Just as they were about to leave, the cultivators on the treasure ship surrounded them. Just a few void spirit stage experts were guarding in all directions, and they had already blocked their escape route. "You want to escape? That's impossible!" They smiled coldly. They had come prepared, so how could they let them escape? The danger is getting closer and closer. Yi Tianyun feels something is wrong while flying. He always has a sense of crisis hanging in his heart. Chapter 560. The heavenly cloud's imperial capital was completely surrounded, and there was basically no way to escape. Even if they could fly, it would be useless. There were a lot of enemies who could fly, especially core transformation stage powerhouses. They would definitely be able to crush them easily. Fortunately, the heavenly cloud's imperial capital didn't have all of its forces here. Many forces had gone to other cities to manage. After all, there were many cities in the Netherworld Empire that could be directly managed. Under their management, and with the eradication of a lot of bandits, a lot of residents came to the imperial capital. Especially those from the heavenly border continent and the earthly border continent. Previously, this place was a dangerous place, and no one dared to come here at will. Originally, this was the territory of the Netherworld Empire, so who would dare to come here at will? Most of the people here were vicious people, and they would kill if they didn't agree. Therefore, this place was simply a paradise for crime. There were many people here whose hands were stained with innocent blood. In order to escape the pursuit of their enemies, they all fled to the Netherworld continent. Now that it was occupied by Yi Tianyun, there was a big cleansing, as if he wanted to wash away the smell of blood in this place. This made the Heavenly Clouds continent lively, and many cultivators came to join the Heavenly Clouds mansion. They wanted to join as soon as the Heavenly Clouds mansion was upgraded to the Heavenly Clouds Empire. Otherwise, it would be more difficult for them to join. Because of this, many forces split up. Who would have thought that there would be so many experts coming to kill them? However, they knew that it was the wisest choice to split up, or else they would be wiped out. Want to escape? Do you think it's possible? Su Guolin's eyes were like torches. He could see every detail in the imperial capital, so it was impossible to escape from under his eyes unless he was alone. However, there were thousands of cultivators who came here, and they could definitely crush everything here. I will give you one last chance. Choose to surrender obediently, or you will be killed. Su Guolin looked at them coldly and gave the final ultimatum. If you surrender obediently and swear to become our slaves, I will spare your life, and you can become stronger under the protection of the heavenly netherworld divine nation. They didn't want to kill all of them because they wanted to build a better city. They had just arrived in the mortal world, and they had too few people. In order to do things better, he had to recruit these cultivators for his own use. When the time came, he would let them charge and break through the enemy lines. It would be a very suitable choice as cannon fodder. "Don't even think about it," the old ancestor of the spirit tribe said coldly. "I would rather die than become your slave." They didn't want to die, but that didn't mean they were afraid of death. They had faced the danger of death before, but they still survived. However, from the looks of it, it seemed that he wouldn't be able to persevere any longer. "Is that so? Then go to hell," Su Guolin sneered. He stretched out his hand and slammed it down. The terrifying giant palm fell from the sky again. This time, it was more powerful than before. Good timing. The spirit race's patriarch quickly performed hand seals, causing all the formations to release their strongest effect. The protective barriers were pushed to their limits, and the offensive formations were released. For a time, countless pillars of light shot up from the ground. Due to the suddenness of the attack, several of the pillars of light pierced through several disciples with low cultivation bases, causing them to let out blood-curdling screams before falling from the treasured ship. However, most of the light beams were blocked by the giant palm. No matter how they attacked, it was futile. Immediately after, the giant palm slammed on the heavenly cloud's imperial capital, causing the earth to tremble again as if the world was about to collapse. After the explosion, the heavenly cloud's imperial capital was still standing, and the imperial defense great array was still intact. However, the divine runes had started to crack, and it looked like they were about to collapse. It was undeniable that the divine runes carved by the spirit race's patriarch were very powerful, but his cultivation base was too low. He couldn't hold on for too long in the face of a Spirit King stage expert. It was already quite amazing that the divine runes were able to withstand two palm strikes. He even counterattacked and killed a few cultivators. Although their cultivations were a little low, it was better than not killing a single person. Bastard! Su Guolin was furious. Not only did he fail to destroy the Great Array, but he also killed a few of his own people. Although it wasn't a big deal, it was still a humiliation. "It seems like I have to use my full strength. I didn't want to destroy this city too much, but it seems like it's impossible now." Su Guolin kept his strength because he didn't want to destroy the city. Before he came here, he said that he wanted the city to be the imperial capital, so he didn't want to destroy it. Immediately, Su Guolin's strength surged, and a shadow of a giant bear appeared behind him. It waved its huge palm and slammed down again. Boom, boom, boom. The violent explosion sounded again, and it was several times more terrifying than before. The ground outside the imperial capital cracked, and it looked like it was going to collapse at any time. However, after the explosion dissipated, the Great Array was still not destroyed, and it was still tenaciously holding on. It was really terrifying. How is this possible? Su Guolin was shocked and angry. He didn't expect that they still couldn't break through the imperial capital. Was the mortal world really that strong? If he observed carefully, he would find that all the spirit race's clansmen were releasing their power into the divine rune Great Array to maximize the power of the divine rune Great Array. It was a level stronger than the divine rune Great Array released by the spirit race's old ancestor. However, such a terrifying palm strike made their faces pale. Among them, the spirit race's old ancestor even spat out a mouthful of blood. But he still stood there firmly, motionless, and stubbornly held on. "Even if I die, I won't let you get away with it so easily." They had long been prepared to die. Even if they died, they had to resist their power. Good, good, good. Let's see how long you can hold on." Immediately, Su Guolin seemed to have gone mad, and he slapped down madly. Then, he slapped down several times in a row on the Great Array. Finally, with a loud bang, the Great Array collapsed in an instant. After the terrifying giant palm broke through the Great Array, it continued to move towards them. Everyone was so scared that their faces turned pale. How could they dodge it? At this time, a figure rushed up, and his whole body bloomed with the most dazzling light. It was the spirit race's old ancestor. He burned the last of his blood essence to meet the palm strike. Old ancestor! Yi Qingxian shouted with red eyes, and her heart was filled with sorrow. Boom! The spirit race's old ancestor took the palm strike head-on, and the giant palm in the air was neutralized. But the spirit race's old ancestor fell like a meteorite. Yi Qingxian saw the opportunity and quickly caught it. The heavy pressure almost made her fall. Old ancestor! Yi Qingxuan's eyes were red, and she saw that the spirit race's old ancestor was on the verge of death. I'm sorry, children. I can't protect you. Spirit King will avenge us. The spirit race's old ancestor seemed to have thought of something, and he smiled slightly. Then, he died completely. Old ancestor! Yi Qingxian and the others' tears fell uncontrollably. All the disciples of the spirit race were crying. Their old ancestor had died just like that. You overestimate yourself. You dare to go against me? Only death awaits you. Su Guolin sneered. All of you, kill your way in. Kill all the men and keep the women. Treat us brothers well. Yes. They shouted excitedly, and they all rushed forward. Yi Qingxian looked at them with hatred, and she shouted sorrowfully, Spirit King, we can't accompany you anymore. I'm sorry. They all stood up, ready to fight the enemy with everything they had. If the situation was not right, they would choose to commit suicide, or they would be humiliated. At this critical moment, a ray of blue light shot over from afar. A bunch of trash, I want you dead. Yi Tianyun's cold voice came from afar, and it pierced deeply into everyone's heart. Instantly, they felt as if they had fallen into an icehouse. Spirit King. Chapter 561. Yi Tianyun's speed soared to the extreme. He could see everything from a distance, but his speed was still too slow. Even if he used teleportation, it was still too slow. In the end, he could only watch the spirit race old ancestor die, and in order to protect his people, he chose to resist the palm strike. If he didn't burn his blood essence to resist the palm strike, there would be a lot of casualties. After all, the majority of the people here had low cultivation. In the face of this terrifying palm strike, even if it was weakened a lot, he still couldn't resist it. Who? Su Guolin hurriedly turned his head. He felt a terrible aura coming from behind, and when he turned his head, he saw 4 people riding on the ice phoenix flying towards him. Su Guolin suddenly felt that something was wrong, especially this terrible aura. It made him feel powerless. The person who will kill you! Yi Tianyun stepped on the ice phoenix and instantly disappeared into thin air. Su Guolin was immediately stunned. How did he suddenly disappear? The next moment, a figure appeared in front of him, and suddenly waved the heavenly nether divine sword in his hand. Su Guolin didn't even have time to react. He only saw a flash of silver light. When he wanted to move, he found his head flying high, and at the last moment, he saw Yi Tianyun's terrifying eyes. Even at the moment of his death, he didn't know how the other party had arrived. There was clearly a large distance between them, so how did the other party suddenly appear in front of him? Ding! Successfully killed Su Guolin. Reward: 410 million EXP, 5000 Crazy Point, 15,000 SBS, obtained Martial Art Golden Essence Palm, Golden Mortal Secret Art. Reward: Diamond Armor, Mid-Grade Sacred Tool, Diamond Boots, Mid-Grade Sacred Tool, Diamond God Stone, Rare Material. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Tianyun for successfully breaking through to Void Spirit Peak stage. Yi Tianyun used the 50 times EXP bonus card to increase his EXP to 66 times. There are so many cultivators here, naturally, he wanted to harvest them all. In order to become stronger, no matter how angry he was, he couldn't forget this point. If he wanted to take revenge, he needed to be stronger, otherwise everything else would be useless. In the blink of an eye, Su Guolin was killed. The terrifying power shocked everyone. Everyone witnessed Su Guolin's strength. A Spirit King stage cultivator was killed by a single sword strike? Who are you? We are from the heavenly netherworld divine kingdom. If you attack us, our heavenly netherworld divine kingdom, will not let you off. Their voices were trembling. Their leader had been killed, so how could they deal with it? I will kill your heavenly netherworld divine kingdom. Yi Tianyun laughed coldly and quickly rushed in. Even with a swing of his sword, he was killed in a single strike. He did not hold back at all. Even if he didn't need to use that much power to deal with them, his crazy damage mode was still activated. He was thoroughly enraged. He did not expect that he would still be a step too late in the end. If he had been a step slower, the spirit race patriarch would have died. Fortunately, they weren't too slow. Otherwise, more people would have died. In his madness, most of the lives were easily harvested by him. For a moment, they were in a state of chaos and immediately fled in all directions. However, Ren Liangchen and the others flew over and quickly joined in the slaughter. The Ice Phoenix kept spewing out netherworld flames to freeze them. The power of the Ice Phoenix was even more ferocious, and it was at the Void Spirit stage. You want to escape? Go to hell. Yi Tianyun roared and released all of his core transformation stage pet. These were all demon beasts that he had captured before. He didn't release them when he was down there, mainly because he didn't want to attract people's attention. In order to kill all the trash as soon as possible, Yi Tianyun released all of his demon beasts. For a moment, thousands of demon beasts roared and rushed towards the cultivators on the side. The sudden appearance of a large number of demon beasts scared Ren Liangchen and the others. The cultivators of the heavenly netherworld divine kingdom were also scared out of their wits. Why did so many demon beasts suddenly appear? The people of the spirit race in the heavenly cloud's imperial capital were shocked by what they saw. That was indeed their Spirit King. Spirit King. Spirit King. Spirit King. Spirit King. Spirit King. Avenge the old ancestor. Avenge the old ancestor. Our king. Our king. They roared in excitement. It was more of a catharsis than anything else. They had been suppressing their fear all this while. Their old ancestor was dead, and the anger in their hearts was even more intense. Some cultivators were knocked down from the treasure ship, and when they still had a breath left, they madly rushed out and killed the spirit race clansmen. In the face of the invaders, they didn't show any mercy. However, everything was over soon. Yi Tianyun summoned thousands of demon beasts and crushed everything in his way. In just a short time, the ground was already covered with corpses, and the ground was dyed red with blood. It was a shocking scene to see. This was war, and it was either you die or I die. After the battle was over, Yi Tianyun quickly recalled all of his pets. It was too shocking to leave them outside, so he decided to train them into a team of demon beasts. Qingxian, I came back late. Yi Tianyun landed beside Yi Qingxian and saw the old ancestor of the spirit race lying in her arms. He didn't die in peace because he knew that Yi Tianyun would come back to avenge them. I didn't come back late. It's just that the old ancestor. Yi Qingxian wanted to hold back her tears, but she couldn't help it. The backbone of the spirit race was gone just like that. Although the old ancestor of the spirit race was old, he still had a lot of life left. Usually, he was very kind to them, and he even stood up for them at the critical moment. Don't worry. Although it's a painful memory, it will heal soon. Yi Tianyun looked at the old ancestor with respect, but he wasn't sad. Yi Qingxian nodded. She thought that Yi Tianyun was comforting her. Although it was painful, people who were alive still had to work hard to live and continue to fight. At this time, Yi Tianyun squatted down, and a light appeared on his palm. He slowly placed it on the old ancestor's chest. In a short time, the injuries on the old ancestor's body disappeared, and he even became 10 years younger. Then, he slowly opened his eyes. Hey, is this the legendary spirit realm? Why is the Spirit King here, and why is the Saintess here? This. Yi Qingxian covered her mouth in surprise. Their old ancestor came back to life, and he even became much younger. It was a miracle. Old ancestor, you are not dead, I have brought you back to life. Yi Tianyun smiled slightly. He used his precious life to save the old ancestor of the spirit race, and it was worth 100 million crazy points. He had a total of 3 crazy points, and now he gave one to the old ancestor. This thing was very precious, but he felt that the old ancestor of the spirit race deserved it. He knew that the old ancestor of the spirit race had sacrificed for him over the years. For him, the old ancestor really regarded him as the king of the spirit race and supported him unconditionally. Chapter 562. I'm alive? Spirit race old ancestor was shocked. He thought that he was going to die, and he even lost consciousness. He didn't expect that he would come back to life in the blink of an eye. After confirming that he was alive, he confirmed that he was indeed alive, and he was even a dozen years younger. Yi Tianyun thought that the effect was amazing. He didn't expect that not only was he alive, but he was also a dozen years younger. Yes, you are alive, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. Thank you, Spirit King. Yi Qingxian wiped her tears of joy. She didn't expect that their old ancestor would really come back to life. The other spirit race members couldn't believe what they saw. Immediately they cheered. All of this was so incredible, but they all knew that Yi Tianyun must have used some kind of best-grade medicinal pill. Otherwise, how could he save the old ancestor? They could see that the old ancestor was dead, and it would cost them a lot to save him. For a time, Yi Tianyun's prestige instantly rose to the peak, and it was even more prestigious than before. Spirit King, I don't know what medicinal pill you gave me, but it's really a waste. Spirit race old ancestor shook his head. It was a good thing that he was alive, but he could imagine that it was definitely not an ordinary medicinal pill. It was really a waste to give it to himself. If he kept it for himself, it would be equivalent to having an extra life. They were right. It was indeed very rare, but Yi Tianyun still had 2 lives. He believed that there would definitely be more in the future. As long as he worked hard to complete the quest, there would always be a quest related to this. There is no such thing as a waste. You have paid so much for the sect, and if you are not willing to give this little bit of help, it would be too disappointing. Yi Tianyun said with a smile. Moreover, medicinal pills are external objects. It's good that you can survive. Besides, the Heavenly Clouds Empire still needs the old ancestor to manage it. Spirit race old ancestor got up and was deeply moved by Yi Tianyun's words. Spirit King, as long as you don't mind this old man, I am willing to go through fire and water for you. Successfully subdued spirit race old ancestor as a divine general, gaining 50 million EXP, 100,000 crazy point, 100 commander points. A notification popped up, indicating that he had successfully subdued the spirit race ancestor as a divine general. He had also obtained a large pile of experience points, which was truly shocking. It seemed that the rewards for truly subduing a divine general were quite plentiful. The higher one's rank, the more experience points they would receive. The ancestor of the spirit tribe was saved, so he was more willing to follow Yi Tianyun's orders. Therefore, it was only natural that he became a divine general. Although the others were very loyal to him, the meaning was different. It was not as bold as saving them. What's there to despise? We can all see how much you've sacrificed. Yi Tianyun smiled, and then his eyes darkened. These are the forces of the heavenly netherworld divine nation. They came from the netherworld world. I destroyed 2 ships along the way. According to the situation, I'm afraid that they will continue to send people over, so we must be extremely careful. Everyone nodded. If it weren't for Yi Tianyun's timely return, they would have been completely finished. As they occupied this territory, they felt that they had a bit of confidence in front of the Empire. But now, it seemed that they didn't have such confidence at all. Now, only a small number of experts came, and they were completely crushed. They couldn't resist at all. Just the number of void spirit stage experts alone was much more than theirs. It was a complete suppression. Then they began to get busy and quickly repair the surrounding situation. After this battle, the loss was not too big. Most of the damage was just divine runes and other things. There was no problem with this. As long as people were still alive, everything could be repaired. At the same time, Yi Tianyun arranged for Ren Liangchen and the others to help. They were already part of the Heavenly Clouds mansion, so they must help here. When the work was done, Yi Tianyun patrolled the main hall and nodded repeatedly. He was quite satisfied. The preliminary construction had been completed, and the speed was still very fast. Of course, it was extremely efficient to let the cultivators build the buildings. Especially when it was the spirit race who built the buildings. They had some attainments in this area, which could be seen in the spirit race forest before. The houses were built very beautifully, and they were especially careful when it came to the construction. This was their imperial capital in the future, so they had to be very careful. Is there any news about the vital crystal? Yi Tianyun asked. This was related to the reproduction of the spirit race, so of course they needed to pay attention to it. There is no news about it for the time being. The spirit race old ancestor sighed. This was a knot in their heart, but it was still okay. As long as their life was stable, they didn't need to worry about it for a while. Moreover, the previous vital crystal was not broken yet, so it could still last for a while. Yi Tianyun nodded and said, I will pay more attention to this in the future. It is indeed too rare, it is not easy to find. We can only look for it. If we can't find it, it can only be said that God is not willing to let us go. The spirit race old ancestor sighed and said, Don't worry, there must be a way to solve it. Yi Tianyun frowned. When he was in the ghost world, he had inquired about it, but there was nothing about it in this area. Needless to say, in the mortal world, if there was, with their current power, they would have already obtained it. Is it in the heaven realm? Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes and thought of a new place, the heaven realm. They had not searched the heaven realm, and they didn't even know how to go up there, so how could they find it? Spirit King, there is something I should tell you. Yi Qingxian hesitated, not knowing whether to say it or not. What is it? Yi Tianyun looked at her, and his heart sank. Judging from Yi Qingshuan's expression, it was obviously not a small matter, and it was a big matter. This palace mistress sure, she was taken away, Yi Qingxian said awkwardly. What? Yi Tianyun's voice immediately dropped to the freezing point, and his aura suddenly erupted, causing the whole room to become extremely cold, and the temperature to drop more than 10 degrees. He was just about to finish this matter and go to meet with Shi Shuyun, but who knew that she was taken away? Who took her away? Yi Tianyun quickly calmed down, and when his aura was suppressed, they felt relieved, but they were even more shocked by his strength. Just his aura alone was enough to make them gasp for breath, and he was much stronger than the previous Spirit King stage powerhouse. I heard that it was an acquaintance, but I don't know who he is, and he is from the heaven realm, Yi Qingxian continued. Before Palace Mistress Shi left, she said that she will go to find your parents first, and she will come back soon. Go to find my parents? Yi Tianyun was startled. My parents sent someone to pick me up? Chapter 563. The sudden news really caught Yi Tianyun off guard. It was beyond his expectations. No wonder Yi Qingxian was too embarrassed to say it out. She was worried that he would be too excited. Everyone could see that Yi Tianyun had a good relationship with Shi Shuyun. If there was anyone who was closest to him, it would undoubtedly be Shi Shuyun. The rest of the women, including Yi Qingxian, could not get close to him. Only Shi Shuyun felt that they could get close to him. Now, his reaction was just as they had expected. He was quite angry. Yi Qingxian thought in her heart, she doesn't know when Yi Tianyun will do the same to her. This person did not seem to be sent by your parents. It seems that he was a cultivator from the heaven realm. When he passed by, He saw that Palace Mistress Shur was extremely talented and praised her profound ice divine body, so he took her away. At first, Palace Mistress Shur was unwilling, but she still decided to follow him. In the end, she left this sentence. Yi Qingxian said in detail. So that's how it is. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. Obviously, someone from the heaven realm came down to take a look. In the end, he saw that Shur Shuyun was a good seedling, so he brought her up to train her. He had already seen through Shur Shuyun's situation. Her physique was quite outstanding, but he did not know what kind of physique it was. Even the appraisal eye could not detect it. There were many things that could not be detected in detail. This had to be upgraded. Therefore, it was natural for her to be brought up to the heaven realm. The key was that she went up to find his parents. Could it be that his parents were from the heaven realm? Parents? Yi Tianyun had no feelings for these so-called parents. He had no impression of them at all. Thinking about it, he felt that it did not matter. For him, the most important thing was Shur Shuyun. As for other relatives, even if they were really related by blood, they would have to step aside if they annoyed him. After all, they were related by blood, but what was the point of not knowing them? Without any feelings, he would definitely step aside. It could only be said that Shur Shuyun's final consideration of going up was not for her own future, but to help find her parents. He did not know how to go up to the heaven realm, so he could only follow that person up. How strong is that cultivator? Yi Tianyun asked with a frown. I remember that she was a very young female cultivator in her 30s. She was even stronger than the experts sent by the Nether Heaven Divine Kingdom. At least that's the aura emanating from it. The spirit race ancestor replied. After thinking for a moment, he continued, At that time, we thought they were here to cause trouble. Fortunately, they were just passing by as guests and had no interest in us. It just so happened that he took a fancy to Palace Master Shur, so he took her away. However, after taking it away, they also gave us a considerable amount of resources. For example, sacred artifacts and grade 5 and 6 medicinal pills. They are quite a lot. They even have 1 or 2 tier martial arts. Their wealth is truly enough to put us to shame. The old ancestor of the spirit race shook his head. The things that the other party had tossed out were thrown to them as though they were trash. On the contrary, they treasured it very much. To them, this was something that they could never obtain normally. Yi Tianyun nodded. He is very clear about this point. The cultivation is not high, this is the case. The other party came from the heaven realm, so he was a spirit king stage expert. Sacred artifacts were just ordinary to them, so it was natural to give them some compensation for taking away such an excellent disciple. Heaven realm, Yi Tianyun's heart sank. Now, he wanted to find Shur Shuyun and drag her back. He didn't want to look for his so-called parents. They could do whatever they wanted, and it didn't matter if they didn't see each other for the rest of their lives. In order to help him find his parents, he went to the heaven realm alone. God knows what kind of power that was. What if he treated her badly? The assessment of the heaven realm must be very strict, and he would have to go through layers of hardship. Thinking of this, Yi Tianyun shook his head. He wanted to find Shur Shuyun, but the situation did not allow him to do so. The Nether Heaven Divine Kingdom was eyeing him covetously. If he didn't destroy the Nether Heaven Divine Kingdom, he wouldn't be able to go to the heaven realm. He didn't need to know the way to the heaven realm. He only needed to improve his cultivation to the Spirit King stage, then he could go to the heaven realm through the heaven ascending divine altar. The problem was how to deal with the Nether Heaven Divine Kingdom. The Nether Heaven Divine Kingdom was a Saint King stage expert. Even if he broke through to the Spirit King stage, he might not be able to deal with it. Unless he was at the Spirit King stage, and with the help of the crazy mode, he would have a great chance to kill it. Or if he was at the Spirit King stage, it would be even easier. Let's stabilize the situation here first. Yi Tianyun nodded and immediately made a decision. Shuyun's life wouldn't be in danger. After all, the situation wasn't as serious as he thought. Even if he recruited an excellent disciple, he would definitely be treated well. If he is held hostage, he will kill his way to Heaven Realm, no matter who it is. He must hand over Shuyun. What was left was the general situation. The overall situation was developing in a positive way, and it could be said that it was thriving with each passing day. The establishment of the Heavenly Clouds Empire wasn't a big problem. It just needed some time to be successfully established. After everything was settled, everyone went back to their own business. When Tianyun walked out of the main hall, he wanted to continue patrolling and go to the Heavenly Clouds Temple. Jiulingyun happened to come over from the side. Mansion Lord. Jiulingyun had become very capable. Her appearance hadn't changed much, but her eyes had become very spirited. Compared to before, when she didn't have much confidence, she was now very confident. All of this confidence came from her strength. She was a peak 5th grade Divine Rune Master. Once she became a Divine Rune Master, she would become a monster. In the entire Heavenly Clouds Empire, except for Tianyun, Jiulingyun was the only one who could keep up with him. It wasn't because of her Divine Rune Master level, but because of her age. The old ancestor of the spirit race was the strongest Divine Rune Master, but he was already very old. Jiulingyun was still very young. In a few years, she would definitely become a Divine Rune Master. With such talent, it wouldn't be a problem for her to surpass the old ancestor of the spirit race in the future. Calling me Mansion Lord is too formal. It's better to call me Big Brother E. I haven't seen you for a few days, and it seems that you have made a lot of progress. Tianyun looked at Jiulingyun and felt very satisfied. He brought her back because of his kindness. He didn't expect that kindness would bring him a genius who could become a Divine Rune Grandmaster in the future. Yes, Big Brother E. Jiulingyun smiled sweetly, and her beautiful eyes showed a hint of joy. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At this time, Tianyun felt a noise coming from his chest. He quickly took out the jade pendant from his chest and found that the jade pendant had a huge reaction. This reaction wasn't to anyone but to Jiulingyun. Chapter 564. Tianyun didn't expect that Jiulingyun was the descendant of the heaven-creating Divine King. He thought that the descendant of the heaven-creating Divine King would be in the underworld. The most important thing was that she was so close to him. She was the descendant of a Divine King. Even if her bloodline was extremely thin, the effect was still amazing. After thoroughly excavating her bloodline, Jiulingyun's talent was brought into full play. At a young age, she had already reached the peak of the Divine Rune Master level. At this time, her talent manifested. Although he didn't know which generation she was from, her bloodline was still inherited. It was very likely that with the improvement of cultivation, her bloodline would gradually awaken, and there would be signs of atavism. At that time, she might become the second heaven-creating Divine King. It was simply incredible. An ordinary-looking girl may become the second heaven-creating Divine King in the future. Just thinking about it made him feel scared. He remembered the previous task of cultivating a saintess. It was definitely related to this. If she didn't have talent, it would be impossible for such a task to appear. Thinking about it carefully, he had already kept a person who was likely to become a Divine King by his side. If he didn't lead Jiulingyun into the sect, no matter how strong her bloodline was, it would be useless. Or rather, Tianyun was just an ordinary cultivator. Without excellent martial arts and a large number of resources, he couldn't become a Divine King. To become a real powerhouse, it was not possible to rely on bloodline alone. A large number of resources were needed to cultivate it. This was also the case for divine beasts. Without a good environment and a large number of resources, it was impossible to cultivate a powerhouse. What descendant of the heaven-creating Divine King? Jiulingyun was confused. She didn't know what Tianyun was talking about. Tianyun looked at her confused expression and smiled knowingly. You will know this later. Come with me now. After saying that, he turned and walked towards the cultivation hall. Although Jiulingyun was confused, she still obeyed his order and walked in. Soon, they walked into a cultivation room. Tianyun slammed the door of the cultivation room and closed it tightly. There were only two of them in the whole room. Jiulingyun couldn't help but blush. It was very likely that something would happen when a man and a woman were in the same room. Although she believed in Tianyun's character, she was still hoping for something. Unfortunately, she thought too much. Tianyun couldn't possibly do anything to her. Tianyun approached her and reached out to grab her head. He whispered, "Relax, I'll give you some of my memories." Immediately, a stream of memory energy surged over. It was all the contents of the inheritance of the heaven-creating divine king, and it was transmitted over without any reservation. Although the heaven-creating divine king's item was very good, it could only be regarded as good for him. No matter how strong it was, could it compare to his own system? A single crazy mode was enough to crush all martial arts. As the memories continued to flow into Jiulingyun's mind, she was immediately shocked by the vast amount of memories. This was especially so for the insights and memories regarding the Creator. This was a Creator-level divine inscriptionist, a legendary existence. Yet, Tianyun sent it to her without reservation, which shocked her greatly. However, she had already made up her mind, so she quickly calmed down and focused on absorbing the memory. As a divine inscriptionist, her main focus was on the cultivation of the soul, so there would definitely be no mistakes in her memory. Very quickly, he transferred all his memories, including the universe divine technique. Although this thing was very good, it was something that he had made a vow to pass on. If he could pass it on casually, he would definitely pass it on to those close to him. It had to be said that this was the best martial art he had obtained so far. A martial art that could be cultivated to the God-King level. How could he not want to share it with his friends? After passing everything to her, Tianyun slowly released his hand. Jiulingyun just stood there, carefully comprehending the memory. He didn't do anything, just sat next to her, waiting for Jiulingyun to recover from the memory. He didn't know how long it had been. "Big brother E, how long have I been here?" Jiulingyun felt very embarrassed. She saw Tianyun sitting on the side. It seemed that he had been guarding her. "Not long, it's just a little while." Tianyun smiled and stood up. This was not nonsense. For Jiulingyun, it seemed like a long time had passed, but in fact, it was just a little while. Wandering in the sea of memories, of course, it seemed like a long time, but in fact, it was just a little while. It's good that it's not too long. She was afraid of delaying Tianyun's time, and immediately said excitedly, "Big brother E, the memory you gave me is too precious. This is the experience of a creator, and there is a lot of experience, it's really too precious, and those martial arts." She didn't even know where to start. Everything was too much and too precious. This was a matter of course, this was the memory of a god-king, and the things given by it were things that even a Saint-King stage powerhouse would fight for, let alone Jiulingyun, who had a relatively low cultivation. Although Tianyun had given her a lot of divine inscriptions before, it was still a lot worse than the heaven-creating divine king. After all, he was a creator. "It's okay, it's all yours." Tianyun thought for a while and explained, "I got these from the ghost world, and you are the descendant of the heaven-creating divine king." Tianyun said the general content of the memory, that is, Jiulingyun's life experience, but he didn't know under what circumstances she came to the mortal world. It's very likely that her parents felt that they couldn't survive in the ghost world, so they brought her to the mortal world. Regardless of the reason, this inheritance was brought to her. Tianyun thought that it would be very difficult to find a descendant, but he didn't expect to find one so quickly. Successfully completed, find heaven creating divine king's descendant reward. 200 million EXP, 500. 000 crazy points, 100 heaven creating divine king's descendants descendant. A pop-up window popped up at this time, and a lot of EXP entered his account. He thought that it would be difficult to find a descendant, but it seems that this is fate. If it were someone else, they would really have to look for a long time. I am the descendant of a god king. Jiu Lingyun was stunned. She really didn't expect her life experience to be so amazing. She had always thought that she was very ordinary. Who knew that the sudden news would scare her? Yes, so cultivate well, don't bury the name of the heaven-creating divine king. Tianyun reached out and patted her shoulder, and said with a smile, "It seems that this is my luck, having a descendant of the heaven-creating divine king by my side is really a big advantage." Chapter 565. After hearing Tianyun's words, Jiu Lingyun smiled slightly, slowly knelt on one knee on the ground, and lowered her head. "It is my greatest fortune to be able to stay by Big Brother Yi's side." Her voice was full of sincerity. She knew that her identity was not simple, and she was the descendant of the heaven-creating divine king. Jiu Lingyun was very clear about the concept of the God King. It was the most powerful existence. As a descendant, she more or less had some blood in her, but for her, the kindness that Tianyun gave her was difficult to repay in this life. For this reason, she has been working hard to help Tianyun. This time, she carved a lot of divine runes for the Heavenly Cloud's imperial capital. She knew that she didn't repay any kindness by doing this. As long as she stayed here, she would feel that she was always receiving Tianyun's kindness. Although this was a bit exaggerated, Tianyun had given her a lot of resources in this regard, but he never thought that Jiu Lingyun would do anything for him. Even though Jiu Lingyun now knew that she was the descendant of the heaven-creating divine king, she still didn't feel proud at all. Instead, she was grateful to Tianyun for his kindness. If it weren't for Tianyun, how would she know about this matter? "What are you talking about? You are now the descendant of the heaven-creating divine king, and your future achievements will not be low." Tianyun hurriedly helped her up. He really didn't know what to say when she knelt down so easily. "No matter how high my achievements are, you will always be my big brother E. I am always willing to accompany you and serve you." Jiu Lingyun's beautiful eyes twinkled. Under her ordinary appearance, she had a pair of beautiful eyes. They were crystal clear and beautiful. "It's enough that you have the heart, cultivate well, and don't bury your talent." Tianyun patted her on the shoulder and said with a smile, "If there is anything you don't understand, just come to me." Everything that needed to be said had been said clearly, and the rest was up to her to do. He believed that with Jiu Lingyun's understanding, she would definitely do better. After that, Tianyun left the cultivation room and walked outside. Jiu Lingyun clenched her fists and murmured, "Big Brother E, I will definitely help you." Ding! Successfully completed the intermediate Saintess training task, gaining 100 million EXP, 100. 000 crazy point, 300 prestige point, 1 super enhanced lottery roulette ticket. After walking for a while, a message suddenly popped up that stunned him. It was actually an intermediate Saintess training mission. It seemed that there was also an advanced Saintess training mission. This was the same as before, and he would be able to obtain quite a large reward. It seems like the Heavenly Cloud's Empire Saintess will belong to Jiu Lingyun. For now, he wouldn't announce the legend of Jiu Lingyun becoming the Saintess. Everything would depend on her own efforts. When her prestige was high enough, everything would fall into place, and he wouldn't need to push her behind the scenes. "I even got a chance at the enhanced lottery roulette. Let me use it." Tianyun opened the lottery roulette as he walked, and the huge lottery roulette immediately rotated. He also activated Luck Aura, and his luck suddenly skyrocketed. He didn't have to worry about who would see the lottery roulette. Anyway, what he drew would fall naturally, and there wouldn't be any interference. "Stop! Under Yi Tianyun's instruction, the needle quickly stopped, and in the end, the needle pointed to a divine skill. Yi Tianyun's heart skipped a beat. He finally got a divine skill from the enhanced lottery roulette. What kind of godly skill would be drawn from such an amazing lottery roulette? Ding dong! At this time, a wooden box fell and entered the inventory. Yi Tianyun silently opened the wooden box, and soon, the wooden box slowly opened, and a divine skill appeared in the divine skill column. Eye of Charm. Can charm the cultivator within Spirit King stage, excluding Spirit King stage, and they will absolutely obey your command. Level 1, no time limit. Once the connection is disconnected, there will be an hour cooldown. Can only control one person. Next level requires 2 million crazy points. Note: if the target's spiritual power is too strong, or if they are possessed by someone else, they may fail. Divine skill. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. It really is a divine skill. As long as he successfully controls someone, there is no time limit. This means that as long as he can control one person, he will be able to control them until they die, or until Yi Tianyun disconnects the control. This divine skill is definitely cruel. If it weren't for the 2-hour cooldown, he would have really gone berserk. He would have had no problem incessantly killing each other. This is really a good thing. It seems that this thing needs to be upgraded immediately. Ding, successfully deducted 2 million crazy points, successfully upgraded Eye of Charm. Next level requires 10 million crazy points. Successfully leveled up the Eye of Enchantment. The Eye of Enchantment has been strengthened. The cooldown time has been reduced to half an hour. The Eye of Enchantment has been successfully leveled up. This was the first time he obtained a divine skill, and he immediately upgraded it because the effect was too tempting. But after the upgrade, the effect was still a bit low. He thought that he could immediately increase the cultivation of the person he controlled to Spirit King stage, but it seems that he thought too much. It seems that he needs to continue upgrading it to Spirit King stage. But overall, the cooldown is reduced, and he can still control 2 people, which is already quite good. Again. Ding, successfully deducted 10 million crazy points, successfully upgraded Eye of Charm. Next level requires 50 million crazy points. Successfully leveled up the Eye of Enchantment. The Eye of Enchantment has been enhanced. The cooldown time has been reduced to 30 minutes, half an hour. The user can now control 3 cultivators who are below the 5th layer of Spirit King stage. Finally, after upgrading 2 levels, Yi Tianyun could control cultivators within 5th layer Spirit King stage, but it was a pity that he could only control cultivators within 5th layer Spirit King stage. It seems that I need to upgrade it to 4th layer Spirit King stage to be able to control all the cultivators within Spirit King stage, but 50 million crazy points. Yi Tianyun shook his head. If he had 50 million crazy points, he might as well upgrade crazy mode. It was precisely because he didn't have enough crazy points that he couldn't upgrade crazy mode. But if he really had 50 million crazy points, he might not be able to upgrade crazy mode. In order to upgrade crazy mode, Yi Tianyun needed to be at the 5th layer of Spirit King stage. This was what he saw when he checked the divine skill. The line of words was quite small, so if he didn't look carefully, he wouldn't have noticed it. He had to admit that this was really a scam. Otherwise, it would be a tragedy if he didn't know that he couldn't upgrade Crazy Point. Chapter 566. After leveling up, Yi Tianyun was satisfied. The next time he faced a Spirit King stage cultivator, he didn't need to kill them immediately. He would make good use of their strength to help him open up a path. This would undoubtedly reduce the feeling of fighting alone. Of course, he could rely on his doppelganger to fight against a group of people. The main reason why he could level up so many times in a row was that he could control the enemy and get more information. This was the reason why he leveled up like crazy. If he was worried about fighting a group of people alone, He would have leveled up his doppelganger a long time ago instead of leveling up his Eye of Charm twice. For the divine nation, only Spirit King stage cultivators were valuable. Therefore, he could get more information from a Spirit King stage cultivator. This was the reason why he leveled up so many times. After he charms others, he can get information from them immediately. He can also send a spy to help him gather information. This was not controlling others, it was equivalent to having a pet. Not bad, this lottery is worth it. It's just that the price is a bit expensive, otherwise I would really want to do it a few more times. Tianyun shook his head. He wanted to spend a few million crazy points on the lottery, but the consumption was too high. If he still had the reward for killing a Spirit King stage cultivator, he wouldn't need to worry about this anymore. After the lottery, Tianyun went out to summon all the experts within the core transformation realm. One by one, they stopped what they were doing and gathered around Tianyun. Today, I asked you to come here for a simple reason. I want you to have your own pet companion. After he said that, he waved his hand, and hundreds of demon beasts appeared on the spacious field. They had seen so many demon beasts before, but they didn't know that Tianyun asked them to come here to let them choose their pets. Spirit King, you mean we can choose these demon beasts as our pets? They swallowed their saliva and felt shocked. Having a powerful demon beast as a pet was the ability of a beast tamer. They were not beast tamers, so they didn't think too much about it. Yes, you can rest assured that these demon beasts will not betray you. They will listen to all your instructions. He only needed to let these pets recognize them. He didn't need to do anything else. If everything was distributed like this, once a big battle broke out, he would also gain a lot of experience. Pets killing monsters was like his divine general killing enemies, and he would also gain experience as a reward. The problem was that it was difficult to control pets remotely, so it was easiest for them to control everything themselves. Everyone could see the shock in each other's eyes, but more of it was ecstasy. Immediately, they began to choose their own pets. Soon, many demon beasts were distributed to all the core transformation experts as pet. At this time, many core transformation stage cultivators were very excited, and their impression of Tianyun increased crazily. Originally, there were too few core transformation stage cultivators who reached the standard. It meant that only a few core transformation stage cultivators had more than 200 favorability points towards him. Especially now that his force had expanded a lot, some strong cultivators chose to join him, but they still didn't know much about Tianyun. Now, with such a reward, Lin Fan's favorability towards him skyrocketed. After arranging for the core transformation stage cultivators, they arranged for the spirit core stage cultivators, layer by layer. He had too many demon beasts, and they were always in the pet space, so it was best to arrange for them to be trained. Although he could summon thousands of demon beasts, their cultivation level was still too low for him. It would be more meaningful if they could have a higher cultivation level. After everything was arranged, he immediately went to Heavenly Cloud's mansion and arranged for these demon beasts. Basically, those who were above the spirit core stage were given these demon beasts to be managed by them. For a time, the whole Heavenly Cloud's mansion was in an uproar. How could they not be happy when the mansion lord returned with so many good things? All of a sudden, their prestige skyrocketed, and those who didn't join Heavenly Cloud's mansion rushed to join. Becoming a disciple of Heavenly Cloud's mansion would give them a lot of rewards and martial arts, so how could they not join? Mansion Lord, about Palace Lordshire's matter. Yi Wei and the others came over one after another. Just like Yi Qingxian, they also knew about this matter. I already know about this matter. Tianyun nodded and said, You know. Yi Wei and the others looked at each other, and after seeing that Tianyun was fine, they were relieved. Mansion Lord, what do you think now? I don't have any thoughts. After dealing with things here, I will go to the heaven realm. Tianyun said solemnly. Yes. You have to bring Palace Mistress Shur back. She's sacrificed too much for this place. How could she just leave like that? I feel that palace mistress sure left because of you, potentate. Otherwise, why would she leave this place? Tianyun was silent. How could he not know? If they went to the heaven realm, how could they meet again? The key was to go to a strange place, but the familiar place was here. If he left alone, he was afraid that there would be more dispute. I will. Tianyun's eyes turned cold. First of all, he had to improve his cultivation level and complete the main mission. As long as he could suppress the cultivation of the Spirit King stage, he would be able to move freely. After all, so what if he was a Saint King? He couldn't even ascend, so what was there to worry about? As long as he could stabilize the situation here, he would immediately go to the heaven realm and bring back the willful Shirshuiun. I hope they won't let me know that Aunt was forced to go, otherwise. Tianyun's eyes flashed with killing intent. If the other party threatened Shirshuiun that if she didn't go to the heaven realm, he would destroy her sect. If that was really the case, even if it was the forces of the heaven realm, he would still kill them. Mansion Lord, there is a messenger from the Heavenly Dragon Empire asking to see you. A guard hurried in and said, Messenger from the Heavenly Dragon Empire? Tianyun thought for a moment and said, Let him in. Soon, the messenger from the Heavenly Dragon Empire hurried in from outside. His cultivation was at the core transformation stage, so if he wanted to come here, he must be able to fly. Greetings, Your Highness. The messenger from the Heavenly Dragon Empire said respectfully. What happened to the Heavenly Dragon Empire? Tianyun asked directly. Usually, the Heavenly Dragon Empire would not send messengers to the Heavenly Dragon Empire if there was nothing important. Your Highness, something bad has happened. There are 4 empires that have gathered together and are planning to kill both of us. The messenger from the Heavenly Dragon Empire said solemnly. Chapter 567. The forces of the 4 empires want to attack us? Tianyun's gaze turned cold, his eyes flashed with killing intent. At this critical juncture, there were actually people who wanted to make a move on him. He didn't know who gave them the gut. Yes, the forces of the 4 empires have gathered and formed an alliance of empires. They are preparing to attack our Heavenly Dragon Empire. It should be said that they are already advancing this way. The emissary wiped off his cold sweat. They were already attacking this way. If they were a little slower, they would have already killed their way to the Heavenly Dragon Imperial capital. Why are they attacking us? Tianyun asked. Have you investigated clearly? It might be for the territory, it might be for the treasures, or it might even be for the martial arts. He wanted to know why they chose to attack this place. They had always minded their own business, and the places occupied by the other empires were not any worse than the areas they were in. But now, there were 4 empires that had joined hands to attack them. This was a little strange. If he did not exist, under the combined forces of the 4 empires, they would definitely lose. However, to destroy the 2 of them, they would definitely have to pay a huge price. Although he could still afford this price, if he didn't have a target, he would be at a great disadvantage if he attacked casually. Especially between the empires, there was definitely a connection, but if their relationship was very good and they formed an alliance, it would be even rarer. Especially for the alliance of the 4 empires, if there was no power to combine, it would be impossible. I'm not sure about that, they came very suddenly. Right now, our borders have completely fallen, and in a few days, they will completely kill their way to our Heavenly Dragon Imperial capital. The divine envoy kept wiping off his cold sweat, his face pale. This was not because he was scared, but because he had been rushing over at his fastest speed and had consumed too much spirit energy, causing his spirit energy to be basically depleted. This was an extremely urgent situation. How could he not be anxious? He flew over crazily, not daring to stop and rest at all. Palace Master, when you were not here, The Heavenly Dragon Empire took good care of us and often gave us resources. When we were eliminating some rebels or bandits, they all helped us. Iyue's gaze was resolute. If not for Yi Tianyun's presence, they would have sent reinforcements. I know. You can rest here. I will rush over there. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed with a cold light. He was ready to fly to the Heavenly Dragon Empire. Putting aside the fact that Renlong was his sworn brother, Renjiro alone was worth saving. Of course, he had heard that the Heavenly Dragon Empire had helped them a lot. We don't need to take action? They were all stunned. They thought that he was going to bring a group of strong cultivators, but Yi Tianyun said that he would go himself. There's no need. By the time you arrive, it will be too late. Yi Tianyun said calmly. Your Highness, but, the divine envoy was speechless. He had heard that Yi Tianyun was very powerful, but it was only limited to the Heavenly Dragon Imperial Capital. If they were outside the Heavenly Dragon Imperial Capital, they would not be able to control the Heavenly Dragon's secret treasure. Their strength would definitely be greatly reduced. How could they fight? Now that they were attacking from all directions, they could not win by relying on just one person. No buts. Don't worry. Leave it to me, Yi Tianyun said indifferently. I don't know if you are going to support them. It might be a trap to lure the tiger away from the mountain, so it's better for you to stay here and guard this place. Everyone was stunned. That was really possible. Yi Tianyun did not wait for them to say anything. He took a step forward and disappeared into the sky. His speed was beyond imagination. They were all dumbfounded. His speed was too fast. It was unbelievable. This is the power of your Highness? The divine envoy was dumbfounded. Iyue and the others were also dumbfounded. How long has it been since Yi Tianyun broke through again? They had seen the flying speed of a void spirit stage cultivator. It was not even 1/10 of Yi Tianyun's speed. Yi Tianyun did not even summon the phoenix. The reason was simple. The phoenix's speed was slower than him. So, why would he summon the phoenix? Phoenix bloodline open. In the next moment, his entire body emitted inextinguishable flames, and even more phoenix wings emerged. His speed instantly increased by 7 times, and with a boom, even the air was broken through by him. In the blink of an eye, he flew a distance of 100 miles. It was truly terrifying. At the same time, the Heavenly Dragon Empire was in chaos. Most of the cities had fallen. The situation was much worse than before. Prime Minister Long did not need to occupy other cities at that time. They only needed to occupy the imperial capital. After all, what Prime Minister Long needed was this empire. If they were to flatten it all the way, they would consume a lot of resources. Right now, the 4 empires were ferociously pushing their way over. They first occupied the cities at the borders, and then closed in from all directions. Each of the 4 empires occupied a place and finally gathered at the Heavenly Dragon Imperial Capital. It was not clear which of the 4 empires would be faster. In short, the appearance of the 4 empires meant that all the cities in that direction had fallen. They were going to swallow up the Heavenly Dragon Empire, leaving nothing behind. In the main hall of the Heavenly Dragon Imperial Capital, Renjiro, Renlong, and the ministers looked solemn. This was a moment of life and death. How could they resist the 4 empires? I have already sent a divine messenger to the Heavenly Cloud's mansion to ask for reinforcements. I believe that reinforcements will come soon. Renlong said in a deep voice. Heavenly Cloud's mansion. Everyone shook their head in despair. Heavenly Cloud's mansion was not even an empire. What was the point of looking for them? Plus, there were 4 empires now. What could a small Heavenly Cloud's mansion do? Don't we have His Highness? As long as His Highness returns, we will have a chance to win. One of the ministers thought of Yi Tianyun. He witnessed Yi Tianyun's power with his own eyes, so of course he would support him. His Highness is powerful. He can control the Heavenly Dragon's secret treasure, but we are facing 4 empires now. Although it is not as powerful as the Netherworld Empire, the Netherworld Empire cannot afford to face 4 empires at the same time. That's right. I heard that even the old ancestors of the empires are coming. Not only are there Void Spirit Peak experts, but there are also Spirit King experts. So what if His Highness comes? We can't defend the Heavenly Dragon's secret treasure anymore. They sighed deeply. There was no hope in their eyes at all. It wasn't that they didn't believe in Tianyun, but the enemy was too strong. How could the brother and sister not be like this? They both sighed deeply. I hope, brother, you will not come to help. Renlong shook his head. He felt that it was a mistake to send someone to look for Tianyun. This was basically a dead end. What was the point of sending someone to help? Brother, it seems like we can't defend the Heavenly Dragon Empire. Renjiro smiled bitterly. This time they really couldn't defend it. That's right. Renlong sighed. Soon after, his eyes turned cold as he spoke in a deep voice. Even if this is the case, even if we die, we will fight until the very last moment. That's right. Renjiro nodded. No matter what the result was, they had to fight until the last moment. Chapter 568. The Heavenly Dragon Imperial Capital was filled with despair. Many cultivators were panicking. Some of them even packed up their things and ran away. When Prime Minister Long and the others attacked the Heavenly Dragon Imperial Capital, most of them chose to stay. Now they couldn't stay calm anymore. Even the number 1 ranked power wouldn't dare to fight head-on against 4 empires' powers. Of course, the 4 imperial forces didn't dare to attack the strongest imperial force at will. If they really attacked the strongest imperial force, they would suffer heavy losses. This was obviously not cost-effective. If they suffered heavy losses, they would probably be annexed by the other imperial forces. Therefore, they didn't dare to invade the strongest imperial forces at will. The overall strength of the Heavenly Dragon Empire was not bad, so it wouldn't be a problem to join forces with the 4 imperial forces to overthrow the Heavenly Dragon Empire. At the same time, in a city on the edge of the Heavenly Dragon continent, the guards were frantically resisting the invaders from the outside. Although there was a large array to resist the attacks of the cultivators, it was still very difficult to resist. The whole city fell into panic and despair. Kill them all. Kill all the invaders. Moss, the city lord of Huiyun City, roared and took the lead to kill the invaders on the city wall. The other guards also roared and kept killing the invaders. However, in the face of the endless stream of cultivators, their faces were pale, but they could only grit their teeth and resist. City Lord Mo, I advise you to give up resisting. Can you resist the forces of the Tian Luo Empire? The leader of the group was a Void Spirit Stage cultivator, and there were many Core Transformation Stage cultivators around him. There were already hundreds of cultivators with him, among which there were as many as 5 or 6 Core Transformation Stage cultivators and hundreds of Spirit Core Stage cultivators. This was only one of the groups. There were still other forces rushing towards other cities. It could be said that this was an all-out attack. It would be a waste of time if they attacked the cities one by one. There weren't many guards in Huiyun City. The strongest was City Lord Mo, but his cultivation was only at the 8th level of Core Transformation Stage. Facing the Void Spirit Stage cultivator in front of him, he was like a piece of trash. Most of the rest were Spirit Core Stage cultivators. Even if there were only a few Spirit Core Stage cultivators, they wouldn't be so desperate. Most of them are in the Core Condensation realm. This kind of cultivation really can not bear the other party's anger. Dong Lin, don't talk nonsense. Even if we die, we will not give up resisting. Mose snorted coldly and said angrily with his weapon in hand, once our reinforcements arrive, all of you will definitely die. What reinforcements? Dong Lin sneered. Are you talking about the Heavenly Dragon Imperial Capital or the other cities coming to help? Or should he wait for reinforcements from the Heavenly Cloud Mansion? I heard that there was a prince who was very powerful? Or was it the power of Heavenly Cloud's mansion? The Heavenly Cloud mansion was just a third-grade force, yet they dared to come and help? I think they can't even protect themselves. That's right. Even if we die and Huiyun City falls into enemy hands, Great Emperor Ren and His Highness will avenge us. Moss was very loyal to the Heavenly Dragon Empire. He would never choose to surrender or betray the Heavenly Dragon Empire. Ha ha, Dong Lin and the others burst into laughter upon hearing that. It was as if they had just heard the funniest joke in the world. Tears almost flowed out of their eyes. Are you still counting on Great Emperor Ren and Lord Ren to save you? Let me tell you, if they are not in the Heavenly Dragon Imperial capital, they are nothing. Dong Lin laughed. They are just a bunch of trash hiding in the Heavenly Dragon Imperial capital, relying on the Heavenly Dragon's secret treasure to protect themselves. Outside the Heavenly Dragon Imperial capital, they can't use the Heavenly Dragon's secret treasure at all. What's the difference between them and trash? Moss and the others immediately blushed when they heard that. Dong Lin was right. The Heavenly Dragon Imperial capital relied on the Heavenly Dragon's secret treasure to defend everything, but that was it. If they didn't attack and flatten the surrounding cities, they wouldn't dare to come out at will. What's the point of not being able to use the Heavenly Dragon's secret treasure once they come out? They had the divine tool, but they couldn't bring it out, so their strength was greatly reduced. Even if I kill my way to the entrance of the Imperial capital, I won't dare to come out at will, let alone return to the Heavenly Cloud City. Isn't this the best proof? How many cities have we conquered? Where are the people? Tell me, where are the people? Where are the reinforcements? You are just a bunch of trash hiding in the safest place in the Imperial capital. Who cares if you live or die? Dong Lin's words caused their expressions to turn ugly. Every word he said caused their hearts to sink to the bottom of the valley. What Dong Lin said was the truth. However, they still had a sliver of hope in their hearts that the Heavenly Dragon Imperial capital would send reinforcements. Now that so many cities had fallen, it seemed like they wouldn't be able to hold on for long even if they returned to Cloud City. Listen to my advice. What bullshit Heavenly Dragon Empire? They are all a bunch of trash, a bunch of forces that casually abandon people. You still choose to stay in the city? As long as you surrender to us, we guarantee that you will be 100 times better than the Heavenly Dragon Empire. Dong Lin continued to persuade them, but he was not in a hurry to attack. As expected, the fox's tail was revealed at this time. He had said so much just to make Moss's heart waver and choose to give up on returning to Cloud City. If they resisted, it would still be a little difficult to take over, and there would even be some casualties. If he could move his mouth and take down a city, why not? If he could incite them to attack the Heavenly Dragon Imperial capital together, that would be the best choice. Don't try to mislead us with your lies. After Moss heard this, he said angrily, The Heavenly Dragon Empire has always treated us well. Even if we die, we will not choose to surrender. Moss was not bewitched. His heart was still very firm, and he did not compromise because of this. The other guards looked at each other and saw determination in each other's eyes. That's right, even if there is no support, we will not surrender. Many of the guards roared, their eyes red. This was their last battle. A bunch of idiots, even at the brink of death, they are still so stubborn. No one from the Heavenly Dragon Empire came to rescue them, yet they are still so stubborn. Dong Lin laughed coldly. It's a pity that you won't be able to see a group of turtles who only know how to hide in the Imperial capital. What bullshit Great Emperor Ren, what bullshit King, they are all a bunch of turtles. We won't allow you to insult the Great Emperor, Moss said angrily. If you want to kill me, then kill me. Come on. They were fearless, not worried at all that they would die. Then you can all die. Dong Lin pointed with his finger, indicating for his subordinates to charge forward and take over Cloud City. Oh, who said I was a coward? At this time, a ghostly voice appeared behind them. Everyone turned their heads to look and saw a young man standing behind them. Chapter 569. Everyone's eyes lit up when they heard the word prince. They turned around and saw a young man floating in the air with his hands behind his back. He was staring at Dong Lin and the others coldly. "You are the prince of the Heavenly Dragon Empire?" Dong Lin looked at Yi Tianyun from head to toe. He was shocked. Isn't he too young? He looks like he is less than 20 years old. How could he be a prince? Judging from the fact that he could fly, he must be at the core transformation stage. Rumor had it that the prince was very powerful. He could control the Heavenly Dragon's secret treasure and fight against Prime Minister Long. However, these were just rumors. Dong Lin and the others did not really believe it. Maybe he had fought with his life on the line and finally won. That's right. That's me. Yi Tianyun looked at him indifferently. In his eyes, Dong Lin was already a dead man. Dong Lin laughed. That's right. You are not a coward anymore. However, you are an idiot. Instead of hiding in the Heavenly Dragon Imperial City, you came out to help us. If you are not an idiot, then what are you? Moss and the others' faces changed. Without the support of the Heavenly Dragon secret treasure, how could he use the Heavenly Dragon secret treasure? Are you done? Yi Tianyun said indifferently. Are those your last words? Last words? That should be your last words. Dong Lin was taken aback. Then, he sneered. Capture him. He is a prince of the Heavenly Dragon Empire. Serve him well. Yes. The core transformation stage cultivators sneered and surrounded Dong Lin. How powerful could a young man like him be? They guessed that he had just reached the core transformation stage not long ago. Although he was a genius, he was no different from a child in front of a late-stage core transformation stage cultivator. When the core transformation stage cultivators surrounded Dong Lin, Yi Tianyun raised his hand and tens of thousands of flying swords appeared around him. He put on the Sword Master set and controlled tens of thousands of spiritual sword. He did not even want to do anything. He only needed the Sword Master set to deal with these trash. Especially when dealing with so many cultivators, when one's cultivation was not high, using the swordsman set to kill them was like slaughtering chickens and dogs. What is this? When they saw tens of thousands of spirit swords flying into the sky, their hearts trembled. Even the spirit swords in the hands of some spirit core realm cultivators were sucked into the formation. Go! Yi Tianyun stretched out his hand and pointed. Tens of thousands of spiritual swords pierced through the air like a dense rain of swords falling from the sky. Swish, 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 an air-piercing sound could be heard, followed by a series of silver lights that pierced through the cultivators who were rushing towards them. Even the core transformation stage cultivators were pierced through by these tens of thousands of swords. The rest of the spirit core stage cultivators wanted to turn around and escape, but it was too late. Their speed of escape was far slower than the speed of the spirit sword. Their backs were immediately pierced by the spirit sword. Then, their bodies swayed and they fell to the ground, blood staining the place where they fell. In the blink of an eye, most of the invaders were wiped out, and everything was easily crushed. What kind of divine skill is this? Dong Lin's face darkened. Even though his cultivation was at the void spirit stage, the feeling that Yi Tianyun gave him now was like that of a god of slaughter. Then, he gritted his teeth and a low-grade sacred artifact appeared in his hand. He swung it forward, and a thick light swept across the area, shattering the spiritual swords that were rushing towards him into powder. Compared to a sacred artifact, these spiritual swords were naturally rubbish. All of you are a pile of scrap metal. Break! Dong Lin killed his way towards Yi Tianyun. However, before he could reach Yi Tianyun raised his hand and pointed at him. A light beam pierced through his body. The speed was so fast that he didn't even have time to react. When he continued to fly forward, he found that there was a big hole in his chest. It was a ghastly sight. Is this the power of His Royal Highness? Dong Lin's vision darkened, and he fell from the sky. At last, he fell heavily on the ground, completely dead. He had killed Dong Lin with just a single finger. It was a piece of cake for him. Dong Lin was at the void spirit stage, but in front of Yi Tianyun, even if he was at the peak of the void spirit stage, he was still a piece of trash. Without the cultivation of the Spirit King stage, there was no way he could stand in front of Yi Tianyun. When this scene fell into the eyes of Moss and the others, they were shocked speechless. Moss knew that Yi Tianyun was very powerful, but that was because he relied on the Heavenly Dragon's secret artifact to unleash his full power. But now, Yi Tianyun was able to kill all of them by himself, which shocked them greatly. It was only a short time, but he already possessed such terrifying power? Clean up. Yi Tianyun put away the spiritual swords and looked up at Moss. Not bad, you didn't choose to betray the Heavenly Dragon Empire until the last moment. This was a very rare situation. After all, Moss and the others had chosen to resist the Heavenly Dragon Empire with their lives, which meant that they were still very loyal. The Heavenly Dragon Empire has been treating us well. There is no reason for us to betray them. Even if no one comes to help us in the end, we will accept it. Moss shook his head. Now that 4 empires had surrounded them, how could they come to help? Actually, we have always had reinforcements, but the forces here are too powerful, so we can't save them all. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Before coming here, he had killed many cultivators from other forces. Among them, there were many cultivators from the Heavenly Dragon Empire who came to help, but it was just a drop in the bucket. How could a weak empire, which had suffered from internal strife, resist the invasion of 4 empires? The spirit is willing, but the strength is insufficient. This is the current situation of the Heavenly Dragon Empire. The best proof is that His Royal Highness is here to help us. Their eyes were filled with hope. Yi Tianyun's appearance was enough to make them more determined. Everything was worth it for him to come to the rescue at this critical moment. Then I will go to the next city to help and drive out the forces of the 4 empires. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold and he said in a deep voice, "Collect all the spoils of war from their bodies and replenish your energy." After saying that, he quickly flew away and flew to the next city. Things were far from over. This was only one of the cities, and there were more important things to come. Moss and the others looked at the back of Yi Tianyun's back and hurriedly knelt on the ground and shouted, "His Royal Highness, I wish His Royal Highness victory in advance." When Yi Tianyun completely disappeared in the sky, they quickly came out of the city and collected all the spoils of war. Fortunately, Yi Tianyun came, otherwise all of them would have been destroyed. Chapter 570. The war was still going on. The forces of the 4 empires were crazily invading the Heavenly Dragon Imperial capital. More and more cities were occupied, and more bad news was sent back to the Heavenly Dragon Imperial capital. The ministers looked dignified. This was not unexpected. They had not recovered from the previous civil war, so they were easily defeated. Originally, with Prime Minister Long and the others, they could at least resist a lot of experts. But now, not too much time has passed, and the losses have not been replenished. The other party was taking advantage of this moment to take their lives. This was taking advantage of their weakness to take their lives. The 2 armies successfully arrived in front of the Heavenly Dragon Imperial capital. A majestic group of cultivators flew all over the sky, or rode on the demonic beasts on the ground. The number of cultivators was enough to make one tremble in fear. Even the ministers of the Heavenly Dragon Empire joined them, which meant that they were traitors. This was not unexpected. They were timid and afraid of death. Not everyone was willing to sacrifice themselves to protect the city like Moss. Ren Long and the others stood on the city wall and looked at the traitors coldly. What could they say to these traitors? "Great Emperor Ren, I advise you to surrender. Do you think you can defeat us with the Heavenly Dragon's secret treasure?" At this time, 2 Spirit King stage cultivators were riding on the dragon chariot, and a Jiao dragon was flying in the sky. It was easy to imagine that these 2 Spirit King stage cultivators were being dragged by a Jiao dragon. They were the great emperors of the 2 empires. They didn't expect that they would personally join the battle, but it was not unexpected. As a great emperor, it could greatly improve morale. The lineup of the 2 empires in front of him was indeed terrifying. In addition to the 2 great emperors, there were at least 10 void spirit generals, and as many as 70 or 80 core transformation cultivators, not to mention spirit core cultivators. As for those with low cultivation, they were left in the empires. In this kind of war, the strongest force was the foundation. There was no need for a large number of cultivators. This was no longer a case of having more people coming. The current situation was the best example. They were killing their way over very quickly. If it were cultivators with lower cultivation levels, who knew how long it would take for them to arrive? The eyes of Ren Long and the others froze. They were really killing their way over in a grandiose manner. The 2 sides in front were already surrounded. These were only 2 empires' forces. There were still 2 more empires' forces, and it seemed like they hadn't flattened the cities over there yet. Emperor Shao, I remember that our ancestors had a good relationship. Why did you join the battle? Ren Long stared at one of the lands and said coldly, "There is no why. You just need to answer us. Are you willing to surrender or not? That's your answer." Emperor Shao was too lazy to explain anything to them. Great Emperor Shao ruled the Cloud Sky Empire, which had a good relationship with the Heavenly Dragon Empire. Their ancestors were quite friendly. Now that the previous emperor of the Heavenly Dragon Empire had left, it was very likely that he had gone to the Heaven Realm or the Netherworld Realm. He had not existed here for a long time. As time passed, their relationship gradually cooled down, but the overall situation was still considerable. Usually, they would occasionally interact with each other. Who would have thought that they would send troops to attack them? This was something that Emperor Ren and the others had not expected. Initially, he thought the Cloud Empire would not be one of the empires that attacked the Heavenly Dragon Empire. Who knew it would be the Cloud Empire? By the way, why didn't the Tian Luo Empire and the Dream Clouds Empire come here for a long time? Is it because there are more cities over there? Another Spirit King stage expert said while lying on the dragon carriage. He didn't look like a great emperor at all. Instead, he looked like a playboy. There were 2 peerless beauties beside him, and they were constantly feeding him spirit fruits. It didn't look like they were here to attack the Heavenly Dragon Empire. Great Emperor Zhuge, the situation over there is indeed more cities than our side, and they are a little stricter. That side was originally used to defend the Netherworld Empire, so of course they are a little stronger than here. Great Emperor Shao had already figured out the situation over there. Great Emperor Zhuge couldn't help but laugh. It seems like they have suffered a loss, and we have gained a lot. I didn't force them to make this choice. It's their own choice. It has nothing to do with me. Emperor Shao smiled. They had a good relationship with the Heavenly Dragon Empire, and they had already figured it out. Ren Long and the others' faces turned ugly. If this continued, they would be unable to escape once the 4 great empires gathered. Great Emperor Ren, what's your answer? Great Emperor Shao looked at him coldly. Ren Long's silence made him a little annoyed. I have nothing to say to a piece of trash like you, Ren Long said indifferently. Even if he was facing thousands of soldiers, he didn't panic at all. At most, they would fight to the end. They would not choose to give up the imperial capital so easily. To them, this was a great humiliation. Me? Great Emperor Shao laughed and said, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being too weak. Especially you, Brother Ren, as a great emperor, you haven't broken through after so long. It's really shameful. Great Emperor Shao said sarcastically, which made Great Emperor Ren's face turn ugly. If he hadn't been trapped in the coiling dragon cave for so long, he would have broken through a long time ago. Currently, he was stuck at the peak of the Void Spirit stage, and he was still one step away from the Spirit King stage. Great Emperor Shao and Rinlong were about the same age, but Rinlong broke through earlier than him. Rinlong's talent was much higher than Great Emperor Zhao's, but who knew that he would be surpassed by Great Emperor Shao? Do you want to annex my forces just because we are too weak now? Rinlong's eyes turned cold. Isn't this a matter of course? I advise you to surrender, and I can spare your life. Great Emperor Shao sneered. It will be too late when everyone gathers here. Don't think that you are invincible just because you have the Heavenly Dragon's secret treasure. In our eyes, it's just a turtle shell. I heard that there is a king who can control the Heavenly Dragon's secret treasure, but what's the point? The Heavenly Dragon's secret treasure was very powerful, but it wasn't invincible, especially when they didn't even have a Spirit King stage cultivator, so it wouldn't be a problem for them. Although Great Emperor Zhao's words were reasonable, Rinlong's eyes were cold. Then don't talk nonsense. If you want to occupy our imperial capital, then let's fight. Rinlong said coldly. I will make you pay the price. Is that so? In that case, there is no other way. When the other two empires gather here, it will be your death. Just wait and feel the fear of being surrounded by 4 empires. Great Emperor Shao sneered. You don't have to wait, the other 2 empires won't come here. At this time, a figure flew over and floated in the air. Chapter 571. Brother Yi? Brother Yi? Rinlong and the others were stunned when they saw Yi Tianyun. They thought that Yi Tianyun would not come back. They had heard that Yi Tianyun had gone to the ghost world, so they could not go there to inform Yi Tianyun. Who knew that Yi Tianyun would appear at this critical moment? Although they were surprised, they soon calmed down. Even if Yi Tianyun came back, wouldn't it be dangerous? He could control the secret treasure of the Heavenly Dragon, but how could he withstand the attacks of the 4 empires? His Royal Highness? Many officials were also stunned when they saw Yi Tianyun. They did not expect that the Royal Highness would come back at this critical moment. But he came alone. Where is the backup? The 2 emperors were stunned. They had heard that there was a Royal Highness who could control the secret treasure of the Heavenly Dragon, but they did not know where he came from. They knew that it was very difficult to control the secret treasure of the Heavenly Dragon, and it required a very strong bloodline of the Heavenly Dragon. This meant that the Royal Highness in front of them must have the bloodline of the Heavenly Dragon, and he was most likely a relative of the Heavenly Dragon Empire. Of course, these were all guesses. They did not know the real situation. Now that a young man appeared in front of them, they were stunned. The legendary Royal Highness was this young man? No one would believe it. But it seemed that he could fly, which meant that his cultivation was not too low. Emperor Shao and the others squinted their eyes and looked at Yi Tianyun. They felt that it was ridiculous. No matter how strong he was only one person. You are the legendary Royal Highness? You look quite young. Emperor Shao couldn't help but laugh. That's all. Even if a Royal Highness appears, can he turn the tables? Emperor Shao, wait a minute. What did he say just now? Emperor Zhuge squinted his eyes. Compared to this young man, what he said just now was more noticeable. Did he say anything just now? Emperor Shao did not have any impression of him. What was the point of coming here alone? Did he just say that the other 2 empires would not come? Emperor Zhuge sat up and pushed the 2 beauties away. He looked at Yi Tianyun coldly. Did you just say that? Yes. The other 2 empires will not come. I have already stopped them on the way and destroyed them, Yi Tianyun said calmly. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was stunned, and then the people from the 2 empires roared with laughter. They felt that this was simply a joke. He was actually able to stop 2 empires by himself. Even bragging had to depend on the situation, right? Not to mention the people of the 2 empires laughing, even the faces of the ministers in the Heavenly Dragon imperial capital darkened. Even if they did not believe it, no one would believe it. Tianyun, no one would believe it. Who would believe it? Tianyun, Tianyun? Tianyun ilong, Tianyun long, Tianyun, Ren, Tianyun, Ren Long's face was solemn. Tianyun Long's words shocked him. He doesn't know if Tianyun really did it or not. It's very likely that Tianyun is just trying to scare them, as the minister said. Some people believed it, and some didn't, but the two empires definitely did not believe it. Great Emperor Ren, you're a prince, aren't you? Apart from the two Spirit King stage powerhouses, there are also a lot of Void Spirit stage powerhouses. You think you can stop them? If you want to scare us, don't say such stupid things. At least say something practical. For example, you have the World Dragon Empire as your backer. Great Emperor Shao laughed out loud. He thought that Tianyun's brain had a problem. He couldn't believe that Tianyun would say such a thing. Everyone looked at Tianyun as if he was a fool. They thought that a strong powerhouse would appear out of nowhere. Who knew that he would be a clown? Even if Tianyun Long wanted to scare them, he had to find a way to do it. It was like a beggar suddenly saying that he had billions of dollars. Who would believe that? But if he said that he was the leader of the beggar gang, it would be different. Perhaps the leader was fake, but at least it was possible to believe it. But now, he said that he wiped out the two empires alone. Who would believe it? Well, now it's your turn. Even if you beg for mercy, I won't let you go. Tianyun said indifferently. Many times, you have to pay the price for what you have done. Ha ha. You really are an idiot. Great Emperor Ren, your prince is addicted to playing with us. Does he think that we will beg for mercy? You must be kidding me. Emperor Shao flew out of the dragon carriage, and looked at Tianyun Long as if he was looking at a fool. How sad. How can the Heavenly Dragon Empire be saved by such a prince? So, do you think that you are wrong to betray them? A wise man submits to circumstances. The ministers at the side could not help but shake their heads when they saw Tianyun Long's situation. It was right to betray them. Otherwise, they would not even know how they died. Although they said that the new prince was very powerful, who would believe that he could overthrow the two empires alone? Many ministers in the Heavenly Dragon Imperial capital did not know what to say. They heard that the prince was the sworn brother of Great Emperor Ren. Did that mean that Great Emperor Ren was responsible for this? At this time, Great Emperor Zhuge also flew out and shook his head. He came to tease us. He is quite happy. When the other two empires come, let's see how this brat can play tricks. They all laughed. They were not in a hurry to attack. When all the great emperors gathered, they would attack together. Soon, they would be able to flatten this force. Even the Heavenly Dragon's secret treasure would not be able to withstand the attacks of so many experts. This was what they had discussed before. If the Heavenly Dragon Imperial capital surrendered first, it would be the best thing. Everyone nodded and looked at Tianyun Long with mocking eyes. I have said that they will not come. Tianyun repeated and looked at them coldly. Two idiotic great emperors, look at me. Brat, what did you say? Emperor Shao and Great Emperor Zhuge glared at him. How dare he call them idiots when he is about to die? When they looked at Tianyun Long, they immediately felt like they had fallen into a whirlpool. Their consciousness became a little blurry. In just a moment, they felt that their limbs had lost all feeling and their bodies were no longer their own. Well, very good. Go. Tianyun waved his hand. The two great emperors immediately turned around and summoned their personal sacred weapons. The next moment, they attacked their subordinates. Boom! Chapter 572. No one had expected the two great monarchs to suddenly change sides and start killing their subordinate. They showed no mercy at all and attacked with absolute killing moves. With a loud bang, a large number of cultivators were killed, and screams rang out incessantly. How could a Spirit King stage powerhouse be weak? For a time, the sound of explosions continued, and a large area seemed to have been lifted up. The power of a Spirit King stage powerhouse was evident. No one could react to what was going on. They were all dumbfounded by the sudden change. If Shao Great Emperor attacked Yi Tianyun and the others, no one would be surprised. After all, they didn't need to wait for the other two empires to come and kill them. Who would have thought that he would make a move against his own subordinates? The moment he made a move, it was a killing move. It was unbelievable. When he killed them, it was as if he was dealing with the enemy who killed his father, showing no mercy. What the hell is going on? What happened to Shao Great Emperor? What the hell is going on? Run. This is crazy. What are they doing? The cultivators of the two empires quickly retreated to the side, but how could they compare to the speed of a Spirit King stage cultivator? They easily killed their way to the other side. The people of the Heavenly Dragon Imperial Capital were also dumbfounded. The people of the Heavenly Dragon Imperial Capital were also dumbfounded. No one knew what happened, but the two great emperors suddenly turned around and killed their own people. Could it be that Shao Great Emperor and the others are from the Heavenly Dragon Empire? How is that possible? If they are from the Heavenly Dragon Empire, why would they attack us? What the hell is going on? No one knew what was going on. They only saw Shao Great Emperor and Shao Great Emperor killing their own people. Although they were happy to see this scene, no one knew why it happened. Quick, stop it. Why can't I control my own body? Get out of the way, get out of the way. I can't control my own body. They shouted, and many cultivators were confused. What do you mean by you can't control your own body? As Spirit King stage powerhouses, how could they not control their own body? Of course, this wasn't a joke. The two of them were instantly affected by Yi Tianyun's bewitching eyes. It didn't pose any difficulty at all. The Eye of Enchantment could control the cultivation of cultivators below the 5th layer of Spirit King stage, and Great Emperor Shao was only at the 2nd layer of Spirit King stage. As for Great Emperor Zhuge, he was only at the 1st layer of Spirit King stage. He easily controlled the two of them. All they had to do was look at each other, and they were controlled by him. Under normal circumstances, no one would think that they would be controlled just by looking at each other. This was the case now. Not only were they easily controlled, but they could not even control their consciousness. Yi Tianyun didn't completely control them. Instead, he released their consciousnesses. They knew what he was doing, but they couldn't control themselves. They kept diving into the army and killing their own people. Fortunately, he also received EXP otherwise, he really didn't want to do this. In the past, the two empires had dealt with the Spirit King stage or Void Spirit stage powerhouses in the same way, but it was already over before it even started. The strongest had already been controlled and counterattacked. The rest were just shrimp soldiers and crab generals. They had no combat strength at all. Great Emperor Shao, what's wrong with you? Many generals retreated one after another. Their faces were very ugly, and their hearts were bleeding. In a blink of an eye, many core transformation stage powerhouses were killed, and the Void Spirit stage powerhouses could quickly leave the area. We don't know what's going on, but we are being controlled. It must be that kid's demonic technique. Great Emperor Shao shouted angrily. Kill him! Quick! Great Emperor Shao and the others shouted. The others were dumbfounded. Two great emperors were being controlled by a kid. What kind of demonic technique is this? But soon, several generals reacted and rushed towards Yi Tianyun without hesitation. They wanted to kill Yi Tianyun and let the two great emperors return to their original state. Yi Tianyun sneered and waved his hand. Emperor Shao and the others flashed and appeared in front of the generals in an instant. Under their horrified expressions, Yi Tianyun slashed down with his sword. In an instant, the two generals were killed on the spot. Void Spirit stage cultivators were facing Spirit King stage cultivators. Ding, successfully killed Void Spirit expert. Reward: 53 million EXP, 13,000 crazy point, 800 SPs, obtained martial arts. Ding, successfully killed Void Spirit Stage Expert. Experience points accumulated at a crazy rate, piling up continuously, reaching more than 50 million in an instant. His crazy point has also increased several times. This is all because he used the EXP card. There are so many cultivators here, most of the forces of the two empires, how can he miss it? Therefore, even if the 50 times experience cards were expensive, they would still buy them to use. However, he only bought a 50 times experience card. If he used the rest too many times, it would be too expensive. Although there wasn't any, the experience was still very shocking. There was no need to use additional experience cards. Unless the enemies in front of him were Void Spirit Stage cultivators, he wouldn't spend so much to buy EXP card. Void Spirit Stage cultivators have too little experience, that's why he didn't use them. If they were all Void Spirit Stage cultivators or most of them were Spirit King Stage cultivators, he would go all out and buy EXP card. In the blink of an eye, the two Spirit King Stage cultivators killed the generals on the spot. Bastard, if you have the guts, don't use demonic technique. Let's fight fair and square. Emperor Zhao's face was pale. His generals died just like that, and he regretted it. He didn't allow them to come near him, but if they don't surround Yi Tianyun, they can't release the power in his body. Fair and square? Aren't we fighting fair and square now? Yi Tianyun sneered. Don't you think your words are a bit ridiculous? If you were in my place, would you stop? For empires are bullying one empire, and you still have the face to say fair and square? You're an idiot, don't drag me into this. Yi Tianyun's words were like a slap to their faces. If they were in his place, who would give up? These were two Spirit King Stage cultivators, and controlling them was enough to determine the outcome of the battle. By the way, I almost forgot to tell you, the great emperors of the two empires are also under my control. They killed most of their subordinates, so don't worry. Yi Tianyun said indifferently. Chapter 573. When Yi Tianyun said this again, no one would laugh at him, let alone think that it was a lie. Did the two empires' forces disappear just like that? Although there were still a lot of empire's forces that hadn't been mobilized, the great emperor and many generals were killed. Even if they weren't annihilated, they wouldn't dare to do anything for at least a few decades. With so many powerhouses dead, who else could they bully? They might only be able to deal with some third-grade forces, but if they were mobilized, the other empire's forces might take advantage of them and occupy the imperial capital. The war between empires was very fierce, and if the other side showed weakness, they would attack without hesitation. Who wouldn't want a lot of resources and a large piece of land? Did he really annihilate the two empires' forces? They looked at Yi Tianyun in horror. They thought that he was just joking before, but now it sounded so shocking. Even the two Spirit King Stage powerhouses could be easily toyed with, not to mention the other two empires. Combined with all the things that Yi Tianyun said before, everyone's heart sank. It wasn't a lie at all, it was the truth. It wasn't that the two empires' forces were too slow, but they were already annihilated by Yi Tianyun. All the cultivators in the Heavenly Dragon Imperial Capital couldn't help but shiver. Previously, they thought that Yi Tianyun didn't use his brain when he spoke, even if he was trying to scare people. Now that they thought about it again, their backs were wet with sweat. They didn't expect their lord to be so terrifying. He didn't even use the Heavenly Dragon's secret treasure, but he was already able to control the other party. Zhao Emperor and the others' pupils shrank, and their hearts were filled with regret. It seems that Yi Tianyun wasn't lying from the beginning, it was just that they thought Yi Tianyun was a fool. He really annihilated the two empires. Most of the people felt as if a bucket of cold water was poured over their heads, making them shiver from head to toe. Run! Run! At this moment, a cultivator screamed and turned to flee. Following that, the other cultivators followed suit and turned to flee as well. Their great emperor had been controlled, and their morale had fallen to rock bottom. So many void spirit stage cultivators had been killed, and the remaining cultivators were no longer a threat. So why didn't they run? He turned around and ran, wishing he had an extra pair of legs. Trying to escape? Ask me if I'll let you escape. Tianyun harumphed coldly. With a wave of his hand, the two great monarchs charged forward and attacked his underlings. However, there were too many of them. They had tens of thousands of cultivators with them, and they were all spread out. Therefore, it was impossible for the two of them to wipe them all out. In the next moment, countless demonic beasts appeared out of thin air. As soon as they appeared, they immediately rushed forward, biting and tearing at the people in front of them. One by one, the ferocious and brutal demonic beasts continuously attacked and killed them. Although he had given a lot of demonic beasts to Heavenly Cloud's mansion as pets, he still had hundreds of them with him, so he was still very crazy about them. The weakest of these demonic beasts was at the core transformation stage, and the rest of the cultivators were no match for them. Even if their cultivation was slightly higher, they were already scared out of their wits under the control of the demonic beast. How could they still have the mood to fight? For a time, a massacre appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The enemies had no resistance at all, and they were easily beheaded. Only Tianyun was still floating in the air. He didn't need to do anything himself, he just let them attack him. I am a minister of the Heavenly Dragon Empire. I am willing to surrender. I am also a minister of the Heavenly Dragon Empire. I am willing to surrender. I am willing to be punished. One by one, the traitors knelt down in regret. They all thought that the Heavenly Dragon Empire would be destroyed, but who knew that the return of the Heavenly Dragon Empire would instantly destroy them? This terrifying power was enough to make everyone tremble in fear. Who could still resist? At least, they didn't. You want to be punished? Then you can die. Tianyun's eyes turned cold, and with a wave of his hand, the demonic beasts immediately trampled them into meat paste. Even if they were given a chance to turn over a new leaf, they would still choose to betray the Heavenly Dragon Empire the next time, so they were simply killed. Tianyun hated betrayal the most, so their fate was doomed. The moment they betrayed the Heavenly Dragon Empire, only death awaited them. At the moment of death, they regretted choosing to betray the Heavenly Dragon Empire. The most important thing was that even if they died, their families would suffer the same fate. Renlong and the others' eyes flickered, but they didn't say anything. If they were in Tianyun's position, they would also do the same. No matter which empire it was, they would not let off the traitors easily. Successfully killed a Spirit Core Stage Cultivator, gained EXP, ding. Successfully killed Core Transformation Stage Cultivator. At this time, a notification popped up, but it wasn't the experience gained from killing the enemies, but from the Heavenly Cloud Mansion. Renliangchen and the others were fighting against the invading forces, and it was obvious that they were cultivators from the 4 empires. Sure enough, they want to annex 2 forces at once? Their appetite is really big. Tianyun's eyes turned cold. He had thought about whether the Heavenly Cloud Mansion would send reinforcements or not. If their reinforcements came, then the Heavenly Cloud Mansion would fall. Moreover, their movement speed was even slower, so it was already too late for them to come. Fortunately, he had returned. Otherwise, if he had returned after a period of time, perhaps everything would have changed. He had been guarding against the Heavenly Netherworld Divine Nation, but he never thought that the Imperial forces in the mortal world would launch a big attack on them. I thought this side would be safer, but it seems like both sides are not safe. Tianyun's eyes flashed. It seems like he has to increase his strength greatly, otherwise, he wouldn't be able to stay here safely. Who would know that it wasn't the Heavenly Netherworld Divine Nation who destroyed their home, but the Imperial forces on this side? This made him want to cry, but he didn't know that it was the other empires who destroyed their home. After all, it was very difficult for Spirit King stage cultivators to come up from the bottom, but there was no restriction on this side. If there were a few Spirit King stage cultivators in a huge empire, then they would be finished. Solve the problem here, and let all the empires know that the heavenly cloud mansion is not to be messed with. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold, and he continued to control all the demon beasts to attack. Xiao Tianyun and the others also kept killing, and for a while, the whole place was dyed red with blood. Many cultivators in the Heavenly Dragon Imperial City rushed out, and they didn't have to worry about the enemy's counterattack. He wanted to take this opportunity to beat them while they were down and kill them all so that he could vent the anger in his heart. Chapter 574. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Tianyun for successfully breaking through to first layer Spirit King stage. Finally, after killing almost all the cultivators, an amazing notification popped up. After killing so many cultivators, he successfully broke through to the Spirit King stage. It was really a difficult process. The EXP required was too much. He had to kill almost 4 Imperial Forces cultivators in order to level up. And this was under the 66 times EXP. If it was just 16 times EXP, it would be a long process. Finally broke through to the Spirit King stage, Yi Tianyun felt that his power has been greatly improved. It's scary. His basic combat power was as high as 200 million. That's right, his basic attributes were 200 million combat power. After using crazy damage mode, his combat power would be as high as 2 billion, close to 3 billion. Instead of directly multiplying 200 million combat power by 16 times, it would be 2 billion. Some values were not suitable for crazy damage mode. For example, defense was not counted, but combat power was included in it, so when he used crazy damage mode, his combat power was only about 2 billion. But after using crazy damage mode, reaching 3 billion combat power was not a problem. 3 billion combat power, it was scary to think about it. When he fought against Ming Chen in crazy damage mode, his combat power was only 3 billion. Now that he had 3 billion combat power, there was no doubt that when he faced Ming Chen again, he would be like a piece of trash standing in front of him. He would be able to kill Ming Chen effortlessly. This was the benefit of basic attributes. Only by increasing it, he would become a real terrifying existence. Even if he used crazy damage mode to increase his strength by 32 times, his combat power would only increase by 1 point, which was still very weak. If his battle power were to increase by another 0 and reach 10 points, then the significance would be like heaven and earth. Basic attributes were always the most important, no matter what divine skills were powerful, but if his cultivation was too low, he would not be able to use the ultimate power. For example, 3 clones could only have 30% of his strength. Assuming that his combat power was only 2 billion, his clones could have 600 million combat power. One could imagine how terrifying the basic attributes were. It's just that he had to step on countless corpses to reach this level. Even without this crazy system, if he wanted to become an absolute king, he would have to step on countless bones. The battle ended quickly. On the entire battlefield, only 2 people from the 2 empires were still alive. They were Great Emperor Xiao and Great Emperor Zhuge. The 2 of them watched from start to finish. No matter how they shouted or how they insulted Yi Tianyun, it was all meaningless. Yi Tianyun was controlling them from the start to the end, not letting them stop at all. This was the price they had to pay. Bastard, I will never let you off, you demon. Emperor Zhao's eyes were red. He had killed from the beginning to the end. His heart must have collapsed. Although he had no feelings for his subordinates, and it didn't matter how they died, it was different when they died in his hands. You deserve to be cut into pieces. You devil! You trash! You scum! Great Emperor Zhuge roared in anger. Apart from these words, they couldn't say anything else. I'm a demon? Yi Tianyun sneered. I don't know who organized the 4 empires to attack us. You have suffered losses, But our heavenly dragon empire has suffered no losses? Even the heavenly cloud mansion has been under attack. If it weren't for me, the heavenly dragon empire would have been destroyed. If you can't afford to lose, don't do this kind of thing. Tianyun looked at them coldly, and under their horrified eyes, he signaled them to attack each other. Don't worry, I will personally visit the four empires, and I will let them know what they should do and what they shouldn't do. Let all the forces in the mortal world know that the heavenly dragon empire is not to be trifled with. Tianyun said coldly. Boom. The two of them clashed madly, killing each other. Their punches landed on flesh, but they continued to fight. Soon, their limbs were broken, and finally they fell from the sky, completely dead. Then it turned into a large amount of EXP, but it was only a small part of it. After all, the 50 times EXP card was gone. But Tianyun didn't feel it was a pity, he wanted them to kill each other. Tianyun always carried out the idea of being responsible for what he did. As the two of them killed each other, many ministers of the heavenly dragon empire shuddered. The two great emperors were so powerful, but they still ended up being controlled by Tianyun. They had to admit that Tianyun was too strong. He already had the power to slaughter the entire empire. Tianyun killed 2 Spirit King stage experts. Big brother Ren, little sister. Tianyun flew over with a smile on his face. After all, Tianyun's power is too strong, no one dares to provoke him at will. Prince. Renlong and the others smiled. They knew Tianyun's character, so they weren't worried about this kind of situation. I didn't expect Brother Yi's cultivation to be so strong after just a few days. You can even control a great emperor now? Renjiro was shocked, and she still hadn't recovered from the shock. Not necessarily, if the cultivation is too high, I can't control it. Tianyun didn't hide it, everyone saw it, he can't hide it anymore. I see. Everyone looked at each other and felt that it was a pity. The 4 great empires had powerful Spirit King stage experts, so it would be more difficult to deal with them. If Tianyun couldn't control it, wouldn't it be more difficult to deal with them? Let's not talk about this anymore. Thank you, Prince, for coming to rescue us. Otherwise, the heavenly dragon empire would be finished. Renlong sighed. They were all ready to fight to the death, but Tianyun came to rescue them and forced the 4 great empires to retreat. If this news spread out, it would definitely shock the entire mortal world. What are you talking about? As the prince here, I naturally have to help you. Besides, when I was not here, you also took care of the Heavenly Clouds mansion. Tianyun said with a smile. They looked at each other and smiled. There was no need to say too many words of thanks. Chapter 575. With the help of Tianyun's demon beasts, all the fallen cities were restored, and the heavenly dragon continent was completely wiped out. This news spread out at the same time and shocked the entire mortal world. The mortal world was big, but at the same time it was also very small. At least, it was much smaller than the ghost world. There were at least a dozen empires, and this time, 4 empires joined forces to attack one empire, but the result was a failure. This shocked all the empires, and the 4 empires were trembling in fear. Many ministers and the former emperor's faces turned ugly. They didn't expect that their joint attack would result in total annihilation. No one could take this lying down, so the 4 empires secretly gathered to discuss how to deal with the heavenly dragon empire. In an extremely secretive secret chamber, the former emperors of the 4 great empires gathered together. Originally, after handing over the throne to their sons, they were supposed to abdicate and focus on their cultivation. They were old, and they needed to increase their cultivation to prolong their lifespan, so it was time for them to abdicate. However, the news of their son's death made them furious. Bastard, what is the background of this heavenly dragon empire's king? I heard that he killed all of our forces by himself. Sigh, my shower. Xiao Tian's old tears flowed down. Although he had many descendants, The most promising one was the King Shao. He never thought that he would die. How could he not be heartbroken? He couldn't wait to kill Yi Tianyun with his own hands. I heard that he has countless demon beasts, and he's also a beast tamer? But how can a beast tamer control so many demon beasts? Moreover, Baiyun is a Spirit King stage cultivator. Could it be that all of them are Spirit King stage demon beasts? Zhuge Yun's eyes were cold as he analyzed the information he got. Or he is very strong. Maybe he is at the 4th or 5th layer of Spirit King stage. He was much calmer, but there was still a bit of anger and sadness in his eyes. How could he not value him as his successor? How could he not care about him? It's very possible. The information we got is limited, and most of it is about demon beasts. But I'm guessing that it's more about cultivation. This Heavenly Dragon Empire's Imperial Prince's cultivation is probably not low. As Zhuge Yun said, he should be at the 4th or 5th layer of Spirit King stage. Tian Luo former Emperor's eyes were filled with killing intent. Even so, with the 4 of us joining forces, we can still crush them. The 4 of them were former emperors, and their cultivation was not weak. The strongest among them was at the 5th layer of Spirit King stage, while the weakest was at the 3rd layer of Spirit King stage. Most importantly, cultivation wasn't the only standard to measure one's strength. Treasures were also one of them. If he had a few divine artifacts on him and was 1 or 2 levels stronger than him, it wouldn't be difficult for him to skip levels. No matter who that kid is or how strong his cultivation base is, he must die. An old man at the side suddenly opened his eyes, and a shocking killing intent shot out from his eyes. He was the last remaining former emperor of the empire, former Emperor Long Yun. His body was covered in dense dragon scales. It was unknown how much dragon blood essence he had absorbed for such a situation to appear. As the previous great emperors, they weren't weak in the first place. Each of them was stronger than the other. Even though he was old, his explosive strength was not any weaker than a young man's. It was just that the endurance of his blood qi would definitely be much weaker. If he was too old, his blood qi would definitely not be able to keep up. The other 3 nodded heavily. Their eyes were also filled with monstrous killing intent. No matter who the other party was, or how strong his cultivation base was, they had to kill him. They didn't need to bring anyone, as the 4 former emperors were more than enough. Moreover, most of their forces were annihilated in the war, so they couldn't bring more experts with them. However, 4 Spirit King stage cultivators were enough to shock Yi Tianyun. Although the previous 4 great emperors were dead, this time they gathered together, and they were all the previous emperors of the previous generation. Their combat experience was even richer. Yi Tianyun followed them to discuss how to solve this matter and how to cooperate with them to suppress Yi Tianyun. I have a fusion grand array. If the 4 of us practice it together, it will be easier to deal with him. I didn't want to take it out initially, but since we don't know the strength of the enemy, I don't want to hide it. At this time, former Emperor Long Yun took out a scroll and slowly spread it in front of them. The detailed method of the fusion grand array was recorded on it. When the other 3 former emperors saw it, their eyes flashed with a golden light. They could see that this was not an ordinary grand array. Lock Dragon Grand Array? Their eyes lit up. This was definitely a heaven-grade grand array, and when the 4 of them practiced it together, its power was absolutely amazing. That's right. As the name suggests, even if it's a real dragon, it can still be locked up for you to see. Former Emperor Long Yun smiled coldly and said, "Don't mention that the other party is only at the 4th or 6th layer of Spirit King stage. Even if he is at the 6th or 7th layer, we can still suppress him." When the 4 of them attacked together, their power was absolutely amazing. They weren't weak in the first place, so when they joined forces, their attack would be even more powerful. Good! Former Emperor Zhuge said gloomily. Then we will familiarize ourselves with this grand array, and when the time comes, the heavenly dragon empire will be buried with my Yun-er. They nodded heavily. They all wanted to practice this grand array, and their hearts were filled with joy. This grand array was extraordinary, and if they could practice it, it meant that their subordinates would be able to practice it in the future. Former Emperor Long Yun naturally knew the consequences of doing so, but in order to take revenge, he had no choice but to take it out. In the case that the other party's strength was unknown, it was better to be safe than sorry. If they were defeated, they would be finished. When they looked at the grand array, they couldn't help but cheer. That's right, this dragon-locking formation is truly powerful enough. Let's see if that heavenly dragon empire doesn't die. Former Emperor Shao Tian sneered. Their foresight was not bad, and they naturally knew how terrifying its might was. Yes, I want that kid to pay the price. We can't kill him right away, we have to punish him severely. Former Emperor Tian Luo nodded heavily. Well, why don't you try it? At this time, a ghostly voice came from the side, scaring them, and they hurriedly hid to the side. When they saw it clearly, they didn't know when a young man sneaked in. This was a secret room that only a few people knew about. How could there be a stranger here? The young man was none other than Yi Tianyun. He certainly didn't know about this place, but he learned about it from the great Emperor Shao Tian and the others. With the eye of charm, it wasn't difficult for them to say it out loud. Chapter 576. You. Who are you? They quickly calmed down and stared at Yi Tianyun. Although they didn't know who he was, they knew that he must have come with bad intentions. The four great emperors were well prepared, and their murderous aura enveloped the entire area, blocking all the exits. When they looked at Yi Tianyun, they had already guessed who the young man in front of them was. Yi Tianyun didn't need to hide anything, he didn't even need to disguise himself. Previously, he felt that he couldn't fight the enemy, so he needed to disguise himself. Now that he had broken through to the Spirit King stage, as long as the Holy Lord didn't appear, he would be invincible in the mortal world. Who do you think I am? Yi Tianyun looked at Emperor Long Yun with an evil light flashing in his eyes. Emperor Long Yun was stunned for a moment, and then he felt that he had lost control of his body, and he couldn't even release his strength. Just when he wanted to shout, he found that his voice was stuck in his throat, and he couldn't even shout. Then, Yi Tianyun looked at Emperor Shao Tian, and his eyes flashed, and the other party lost control of him. The eye of enchantment was so powerful, as long as he looked at the other party, it wouldn't take more than a second to completely control him. Emperor Shao Tian and Emperor Long Yun were the strongest, so of course, Yi Tianyun wanted to control them first. Of course, he didn't need to control them, he could easily crush them. The reason why he controlled them was so that he could ask more questions. The other two emperors didn't know that two of them were under Yi Tianyun's control, and they kept sending messages to the other two emperors. This guy should be a king of the Heavenly Dragon Empire. I didn't notice him coming in, it seems that his cultivation is not low. He is at least at the 6th or 7th layer of the Spirit King stage. It seems that we can't use the Dragon Lock array for the time being, but we can try to surround him, and if it doesn't work, we will retreat. Emperor Tian Luo kept sending messages to them, and he wanted to know their opinion. In the case of not knowing Yi Tianyun's strength, it was better to be cautious. Although their son's cultivation was not strong, he was still a Spirit King stage cultivator. He could easily kill 4 Spirit King stage cultivators, so his strength was definitely not weak. I have no opinion, Zhuge Yun quickly responded. After a moment of silence, Emperor Tian Luo noticed that the other two emperors didn't answer him, which made them feel strange. The other two emperors actually wanted to answer him, but they couldn't even release their spiritual sense, so how could they answer him? Like a wooden man, he stood there motionless, like a fool. I have an opinion. A voice exploded in their ears like a thunderclap, making them both stunned. They looked up and saw Yi Tianyun looking at them with his hands behind his back. Are you done chatting over there? If you are, we can start now. Tianyun. Tianyun said. Tian. Tian Tianyun. Said. Tianyun without waiting for the other to get up. Tianyun stepped on his body so hard that his sternum collapsed, making a crack sound. Tian Luo was a third-layer Spirit King stage cultivator, so his physique was definitely not weak. At least, he could withstand a few hits from Tianyun. Unexpectedly, Tianyun easily crushed his bones, and his whole body is like a pool of mud, paralyzed on the ground. You bastard! Get the hell out of here! Tian Luo endured the pain and roared. A flame swept out of his body and wrapped around Tianyun, trying to burn him into ashes. In an instant, Tianyun was wrapped in flames. Zhuge Yun on the side didn't slow down either. His eyes burst with a golden light, and with a wave of his hand several golden lights rotated in the air, like 6 sharp blades, blooming dazzling golden light in this secret room. Go! Zhuge Yun waved his hand, and the 6 blades quickly pierced through the air. Each of the blades contained pure metal attribute power, and they were powerful enough to pierce through anything. Each of the blades had a combat power of more than 4 to 500 million. The 2 Spirit King stage experts teamed up to attack Tianyun. Both of them released their killing moves, and even if it wasn't their strongest move, it was at least half of their power. Everything happened too suddenly, and they couldn't use their strongest attack immediately. What are you two doing? Hurry up and attack! Zhuge Yun roared. He found that the Yunlong Emperor and the others didn't move at all. If the 4 of them attacked together, they could definitely kill one of them. However, the other 2 didn't move at all, and they still maintained their original posture. Then, the 2 of them finally moved, but they didn't attack Tianyun, but Zhuge Yun. The 2 of them joined hands to attack Tianyun, and their coordination was quite good. It was as if they had been working together for many years. You! Zhuge Yun's expression suddenly changed, and he quickly summoned a golden fan. Like a peacock spreading its tail, it quickly unfolded in front of him, turning into a golden wall that blocked in front of him. Boom! Along with a loud noise, Zhuge Yun was blown away, and the whole secret room was blown away. Zhuge Yun finally stopped after being blown away for a few miles. Because of the sudden attack, even if he immediately set up his defense, it was still too late. Especially when the 2 of them were stronger than him, it was even more impossible for him to block the attack easily. As a result, his body was dyed red, and it was obvious that he had suffered a lot of injuries. What's wrong with you two? Are you 2 traitors? Zhuge Yun was shocked and angry at the same time, but it didn't make sense. Their son was killed, so how could they join hands with the Heavenly Dragon Empire? Of course not, they are just under my control, so of course they will attack you. Tianyun slowly walked towards Zhuge Yunlong and the Shao Tian Emperor and the Yunlong Emperor behind him. Earlier, the Tian Luo Emperor was burned to ashes, and his shadow was nowhere to be seen. How is this possible? Zhuge Yun was shocked. 2 Spirit King stage cultivators were controlled? What kind of method is this? How can 2 Spirit King stage cultivators be controlled? Immediately, he saw the pile of ashes, and his face became even more ugly. What kind of flame is this? Zhuge Yun's face changed when he saw the pile of ashes on the ground. He could feel that the flame was not an ordinary flame, but he couldn't tell what kind of flame it was. At least, he had never seen a flame like this before, and he could suppress the Tian Luo Emperor with a stronger flame. Chapter 577. Although Zhuge Yun regretted his decision, it was too late for him to do anything now. The enemy had already come to his doorstep and controlled 2 Spirit King stage cultivators. He couldn't even run away now, let alone fight back. Friend, I, Zhuge Yun, swear that I will never step into the Heavenly Dragon Empire for the rest of my life. As compensation, I can give you all my treasures. If it's not enough, you can tell me and I'll find them for you. Zhuge Yun didn't want to die. Although he was not young, he still had many years to live. He knew that he couldn't just give up like this. He needed some compensation. Even if he had to give up all his treasures, he would still accept it. Who asked them to provoke such a monster? His terrifying power was not something they could provoke. Now, he regretted his decision. If he didn't agree to join forces with the other three empires to attack the Heavenly Dragon Empire, this wouldn't have happened. Do you think there's any point in saying this now? Tianyun looked at him indifferently and said, "As long as I kill you, the whole empire will be mine. What's the point of compensation?" Zhuge Yun's face changed. Tianyun was right. He had already lost the right to negotiate. His empire would belong to Tianyun in the future, so what was the point of compensation? Only those empires that couldn't be conquered and those that fought a protracted war were qualified to negotiate. Zhuge Yun had no right to negotiate now. As long as he died, his empire would immediately lose its leader. Originally, it had already suffered heavy losses, but now it couldn't withstand the people's anger. In the next moment, Zhuge Yun turned around and ran away as fast as he could. There was only one thing in his mind now, and that was to escape. He didn't care about the empire anymore, he just wanted to live. Tianyun wouldn't let him escape. He waved his hand, and the two Spirit King stage cultivators quickly caught up with Zhuge Yun. In a blink of an eye, they surrounded Zhuge Yun. Both of them were the strongest among them, so how could Zhuge Yun escape? Traitor! Zhuge Yun's face turned ugly. He couldn't use his full strength because of his injuries, and he couldn't escape from their encirclement. We are not traitors. Can I speak? Damn it. That kid used some kind of demonic technique. I can't control my body. Me too. I can't control my body at all. It's so weird. Their faces were pale. They had never seen such a terrifying Yao art. They didn't know what was going on, but they couldn't control their bodies. Zhuge Yun's expression changed, and he suddenly turned his head to look behind him. Tianyun was standing at the same spot, looking over with his hands behind his back. You guys talk about the past while fighting? Tianyun smiled and waved his hand. He didn't want to do it himself. He just wanted the two Spirit King stage experts to do it. Following that, Cloud Dragon Emperor and the others began to attack crazily. Furthermore, the sounds of conversation could be heard constantly. Tianyun just watched leisurely from the side. No matter how Zhuge Yun cursed, it was useless. In the end, he could not escape the fate of death. Ding! Successfully killed Zhuge Yun. Reward: 130 million EXP, 8,000 CPS, 2,300 SPs. He obtained the martial art Heaven's Secret Art and derived the Divine Art. Items obtained: Heaven's Secrets Disc, rare; Heaven's Secrets Talisman, rare; Heaven's Secrets Fan, high-grade Saint Artifact. The puppets he controlled would also gain experience from killing enemies. This was for sure. Otherwise, he wouldn't have sent the two former emperors to attack. If they were killed so casually, it would be a huge loss for him. Come back. Tianyun waved his hand, and the two of them quickly came to him. Their faces were ugly, and their bodies were injured. They were very angry, but they couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't even self-destruct. If you want to kill us, then do it. That's right, kill us if you want to, don't talk so much nonsense. The two of them were angry. They were the dignified former emperors, but they were controlled like puppets. It was really a humiliation. They would rather die than be controlled by Tianyun. If they were controlled until they died, it would be terrible. Don't worry, you will definitely die, but before that, I have to ask you something. Tianyun pointed at the former Emperor Shao Tian and said indifferently, I asked your son and the others, but they couldn't tell me the details. Why did you choose to attack Heavenly Dragon Empire and Heavenly Cloud Mansion? It was the Netherworld Divine Nation who asked me to gather other empires to attack Heavenly Dragon Empire and Heavenly Cloud Mansion. Especially Heavenly Cloud Mansion, we want to completely wipe them out. However, we learned that Heavenly Cloud Mansion and Heavenly Dragon Empire have a very good relationship, so we planned to destroy Heavenly Dragon Empire first, then Heavenly Cloud Mansion. The Cloud Dragon First Emperor also replied, "It is the Heavenly Netherworld Divine Nation that asked us to gather together. If we can complete this task, they will give us strong protection and many divine artifacts. They can even give us the Heavenly Dragon secret treasure of the Heavenly Dragon Empire." It really is the Heavenly Netherworld Divine Nation. Etienne's eyes turned cold. He didn't get any details from the four great emperors. Obviously, they didn't tell their son. Presumably, the Heavenly Netherworld Divine Nation knew that they couldn't deal with him, so they mobilized the empires here to suppress Heavenly Cloud Mansion. It was likely that some of the cultivators of the Heavenly Netherworld Divine Nation slipped away, which led to the siege of the four empires. Apart from that, what else did they promise? Etienne asked in a deep voice. No, they promised us protection and a lot of treasures when we go to Netherworld. The former Emperor Shao Tian answered truthfully. So you immediately took action? Etienne sneered. Yes, this is a divine nation's force, and they promised us so many benefits, so of course we agreed. Plus, the Heavenly Dragon Empire is so weak that it won't take much effort to eradicate it. However, the emissary of the Heavenly Netherworld Divine Nation said that Heavenly Cloud Mansion is very powerful and needs 4 empires to capture it. At first, we didn't believe it. It's just a third-grade force, how strong can it be? But we still chose to send an army, and we didn't expect it to fall. They were like friends, confessing everything, but their hearts were filled with pain. No matter what the secret was, they were casually exposed, but they couldn't resist. Etienne nodded as he roughly understood what was going on. The origin of everything was ultimately the Heavenly Netherworld Divine Nation. Revenge on me? Etienne's eyes turned cold. If they didn't go so far, would he do such a thing to the Heavenly Netherworld Divine Nation? It could only be said that the weak are prey to the strong. They did nothing wrong, but they provoked him. Well, you can go to hell now. Etienne waved his hand and said indifferently, "Leave your empire to me. Go and accompany your son in the afterlife. Soon, the people of the Heavenly Netherworld Divine Nation will accompany you." You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.